Bob? Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the meeting of the Board of Selectmen of Wareham, July 10th, 2018. Roll call, please.
All 5 selectmen, town council, and town administrator all present this evening.
Okay, Mrs. Sarnelli, how would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Looks like the deer in the headlights there.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Pledge of Allegiance announcements.
Tony?
No, all set, thank you.
Mary? As Susan can hear me.
I can.
Peter?
None this week.
You don't want an advance notice about the taste of Tremont, or meet me at Tremont?
I'll do that next week because I think the tickets will actually be available then.
Okay.
Saturday is, what do you call it, Peter?
I know.
You gonna do that?
Yeah, I'll do that.
All right, yeah, okay, there's no announcements in here today, and I'm all set.
Okay, all we have is 2 events at the end of the week. On Saturday, we have a art display and art for sale over at the Methodist Meeting Hall, which is the Historical Society building at the end of Main Street in Tremont. And we also have the Swan Festival, which is back for the 2nd year in a row. Both are on Saturday during the daytime. Do we have anything at the VFW since you're here you'd like to announce? No. Nothing at all? Anything coming in a week or so? No? Okay, just trying to help. And please give us advance notice, and we'll be glad to do the announcements for you. Thank you. Okay,
comments.
next citizens' comments?
No board comments.
I'm going to switch them.
Oh, you're gonna switch them, okay.
Yes, Mr. Jepson?
Don Jepson, Precinct 3. I just wanted to extend a public thank you and appreciation to Gary Buckminster and his people, especially to Antonio Mayetta for his efforts to try to save that person that drowned off of
Taylor's Point.
off the Narrows on the way to there. Cohasset Narrows. Anyway, I just wanted to say that Gary can only do so much as far as training, but he set the example himself. I remember a number of years ago, he was in a similar situation off Long Beach, and he jumped in the water, and he was able to save somebody. And it's just a matter of training and a matter of how people react. But anyway, I want to publicly thank them for all their efforts on behalf of everybody who is by the water. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else? No? Go ahead. Please introduce yourself also. I don't recognize you, I'm sorry.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Ann Higgins. My husband Fred and I have been residents of Wareham for 18 years. We purchased our house at 30 Weaver Street in West Wareham because it was situated on a beautiful little pond, Tremont Pond. Over the years, we have enjoyed seeing many fishermen and kayakers using the pond as a recreational area, and have enjoyed the swans, Canadian geese, and other wildlife using that pond as their home. Earlier this summer, we realized that the pond was getting low, and that it was remaining low at a lower level. When we called to find out what was going on, we were told by your office that the gate that controls the pond was in such disrepair that the town feels that it is unsafe to fill the pond back up to its normal level. We are here really tonight to find out, to ask you what course of action is being taken on this problem, and what can I do to help?
Well, first of all, the Board of Selectmen, that's out of our control because that's a day-to-day operation, which really is through the municipal maintenance in the state of Massachusetts Environmental Division as well. The dams are under certain restrictions for safety. I believe if Mr. Sullivan wants to comment now, or he can get a hold of you. We've had discussions with the cranberry growers about assistance, but we're still waiting for something to happen. We don't have the facilities or the money to sit there and repair those gateways. So from a safety standpoint, that's what's happened.
Okay.
And we don't have, as a board, we don't have control of that itself directly.
Well, who would I talk to?
You already have, basically, because the
Yeah,
town
you spoke to
administrator's
my
here.
office, Patty Neal from my office. She gave you the same information.
She did, and she said it would cost $1 million to fix that dam.
Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
like it could be, especially with we pay prevailing wage and the way we have to go about it. So unfortunately, that's the cost we're looking for. We have spoken to the cranberry growers because they have some concerns, and we'll end up meeting with them and see what can be done. And I know you said that's, your view is worth much more than $1 million, but unfortunately, we don't have that in our back pocket.
But just like, I'm not taking this no for an answer, just like we can expect miracles, we saw the miracles today with the men being rescued from Thailand, we can expect miracles. So I'm looking for a miracle, and want to be pointed in the right direction if I can to help.
I don't know if I have any of those in my back pocket, I'm sorry.
I can't take no for an answer, so just if someone call me later and
I'm sorry, I know you're saying you can't take it. It's going to be the no as an answer, but that's unfortunately where we stand today.
I think the only miracle you could possibly expect is if the legislature decided to up the amount of money they put into their dam and waterworks repairs programs, because the town is unable to raise that kind of money on its own to fix this. We have another dam where there's an issue near the Tremont Nail Factory, the Parker Mills Dam. These are problems statewide. If you lived in Taunton, for example, you'd have about 8 of these things that were either shut down, at risk, or no longer capable of holding water back. The infrastructure has been ignored for a long time. The state has ignored the problem for a long time, and it's only been in the past few years that they've even begun to make funds available through bonding to try to even address 1% of these things statewide. So
could I have
we're stuck.
Could I have a number, maybe not today, but someone call me with a number to call them, where to start?
If you go on the from the state perspective, you would want to contact your elected representatives, which would be Susan Williams-Gifford, who's the state rep for Wareham,
There, thank
and also Senator Mark Pacheco,
Okay,
who's our senator.
all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. Anybody else? Okay. Next would be board comments, just outside the normal realm. Tony, anything?
No, I'm all set, thank you.
Mary?
Nope.
Peter?
None tonight.
I have no comment.
I just want to quickly thank the Municipal Maintenance Department. We've been trying to work with the Tremont factory, and we had a car show this past weekend, and they went out of their way to make sure the facility was ready to go, and, you know, they've got so much to do as it is. It was really nice for them to step up and help us out. Also, we've been having people call in on different things. We're limited as to what we can do, you know, and we'll try and help everybody out, but everybody has to understand that we have limited assets, and everybody has individual issues. And it doesn't really matter what it is, but you have to understand that it's what we call an overall picture of everything that goes on in the town. And sometimes one little area is important to one person, but that one area has 4 or 5 other mitigating circumstances to it. So when you look at all of it, it's not something simple that can be done. So all I'm saying is it's summertime, everybody's a little short-tempered, and basically chill out a little bit, and we're doing the best we can. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, there is one thing that comes to mind. I'd like once again to commend the Wareham Police Department for their recent efforts to take care of some of the people who tend to cause problems out in our public squares and places like that. They've really made it a recent priority to go out and apparently they've all taken a course in warrant apprehension, because it's amazing that, you know, I'm reading the paper all the time now, and I see, you know, such and such police officer, knowing that this person had warrants out for their arrest, you know, went and apprehended the person and brought him to justice. It's really making a big difference. I know, especially in Wareham Village, some of the people that just hung around there all day long, you know, drinking in public, accosting people, just being general nuisances, they've been taken off the street. And I know the businesses down there are very appreciative, so I just wanted to thank the Wareham Police Department for their efforts.
Thank you, Peter.
All right,
Okay.
appointments.
Just to remind everybody, we have a hearing at 7:30, so when we butt up to that, we have to stop and switch over.
7:15.
All right, I'm going to do the renewals first, okay?
Okay.
The reappointments. All right, I have James Bruce to the Wareham Veterans Council to a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2021.
Second.
Motion by Patrick, second by Peter. Any questions from the board? None heard. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? 500.
Brian Litchfield to the Community Preservation Committee to a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2021.
Second.
Motion by Patrick, second by Tony. Any questions from the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? 500.
George Barrett to the Community Preservation Committee for a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2021.
I have a question about these.
Go ahead.
As I read the bylaw and also the state law for community preservation appointments, it seems to me that those committees select people, and I don't know why we have any involvement in this process.
My understanding is we just have to approve it. What it is that particular, with Mr. Barrett comes from the planning board.
Right,
it's
and I
part-
understand
It's
that.
part of the makeup, so they have to basically be sworn in, so we just approve what they've already done.
It would seem to me that the planning board would vote to delegate him. We wouldn't have any role in that process.
Well,
So I'm just,
we can ask for town council to give us a ruling on it down the line, or even today if you want. But they need paperwork to go to the clerk to get approved.
It's like he needs more time.
Okay, we'll go back
Yeah.
on that. But,
All right, so that's the motion.
have a second?
Second.
Motion by Patrick, second by Tony. Discussion already done. All those in favor?
aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500.
Paul Chickatelli to Historic District Commission to a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2020.
My understanding on that one is the state law limits you to 2 terms, and is that going to be a 3rd term? Because his compatriot chairman on there, co-chairman, Ellen Uge, told me the other day that they were both going to have to come off sometime in November of this year.
Do you have somebody to fill the space? Because if you don't, they can stay on until somebody's available to fill the space.
That may be the case for FinCom, but I don't know if it's the case for this.
Well, I
Would
think
that
it's
make it a
true.
I
temporary?
mean, we can appoint them, and you know what, if we have to cut their term short because of state law, then we can do it, but I just want to bring that to the board's attention.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
Second?
Second.
Second.
Motion by Patrick, second by Tony. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
500.
Robert Blair to the Historic District Commission to a term to expire June 30th, 2020.
That'll be the same deal.
No. Historic District Commission doesn't have that similar limit.
What was Paul's? Wasn't that his?
Paul's was Cultural Commission, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
Cultural Commission has specific legislation. You got to look at the general laws for that.
I don't think they serve 2 full terms, though. They came in later. Go ahead.
I made the motion. Second, Tony.
Motion by Patrick, second by Tony. Any questions from the board? None heard. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500.
Barbara Smith, the Community Preservation Committee to a term to expire June 30th, 2021.
Second.
Motion by Patrick, second by Tony. Any questions from the board?
No.
None heard. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500.
Glenn Montero to the Board of Health to a term to expire June 30th, 2021.
Second.
Motion by Patrick, second by Tony. Any questions? None heard. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500.
Betty Jean Lepore, Recycling Committee, term to expire June 30th, 2021.
Second.
Motion by Patrick, second by Tony. Any questions? None heard. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500.
Joseph J. Cardoza to the Board of Road Commissioners to a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2021.
Second.
Motion by Patrick, second by Tony. Any questions? None heard. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500.
Michael Langford to the Bike Path Committee for a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2021.
Second.
Motion by Patrick, second by Tony. Any questions from the board? None heard. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500.
Barbara Smith, Historical Commission to a term to expire June 30th, 2021.
Second.
Motion by Patrick, second by Tony. Any questions from the board? None heard. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500.
Joanna Rowley to a Historical Commission to a term to expire June 30th, 2021.
Motion by Patrick, second by Tony. Any questions? None heard, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500.
Melissa Dryer to the Library Board of Trustees to a term to expire June 30th, 2021.
Second by Tony.
I saw that.
He's just waving his finger now.
I know, he's worn
Run
out.
out of steam already.
He's already run out of steam. and
Motion
we're
by
not halfway through
Patrick,
this
second
yet.
by Tony. Any questions from the board? None heard, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500.
Judy Capariccio for Beach and Tourism Committee for a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2021.
I got the finger.
You got the
Motion by
finger.
Patrick, second by Tony. Any questions from the board? None heard, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500.
Greg Kamen to a constable of the town of Wareham for a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2019.
Second.
Motion by Patrick, second by Peter.
Tony,
Oh, he said second.
no. I was pointing at him when I said.
I'm old, don't confuse me. Second by Tony. Any questions from the board? None heard, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500.
Okay, now these are new. Linda Sharif,
Sharf.
Sharf, is that how you say it? Hi, Linda. I'm getting close, Linda.
Why don't you come up?
One of these
15
days.
3rd Street, Onset, Mass. She wants to be appointed to the Wareham Cultural Council.
Nice.
Say hello and tell us what you want.
Linda Scharf, and I've been, when I lived in Plymouth, I was on the Plymouth Cultural Council, and I've been active in arts and culture and science and nature events for the past 30 or 40 years, and so would enjoy being on the Cultural Council in Wareham.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
I just want to say, Linda had taken over the publicity for the Wareham Garden Club, and it's above and beyond with everything that she does, so she's definitely an asset to any group that she joins. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Mary.
We appreciate your service.
I move we appoint Linda Sharf.
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 I'll get it.
One syllable.
It'll take me a couple of days, but I'll get this right.
It's okay.
Wareham Cultural Council to a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2020.
Motion by Patrick, second by Tony. Any questions from the board?
Nope.
None heard, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next one is Nancy Miller, Fauncet, Mass., to Historical District Commission to a term to expire June 30th, 2019. Is Nancy here? No.
Motion by Patrick, second by Tony. Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Abstain? I didn't hear, Mary, I didn't hear you vote.
No.
Okay, 140, not approved.
All right, next is Jean Sarnelli. These are Veterans Councils. We have 4 applications.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't, do we have 4 spots? We don't.
No, we have 3 because Mr. Bruce decided to reapply. We thought he wasn't, so we have 4 with 3.
All right.
So if we have, I believe we have at least 2, we may have all 4 here,
Can I get everybody down here then?
and we can have everybody just speak, and then we'll make a decision next week.
Jean Sarnelli,
Irene?
Irene Claver, Donald King, and Dennis Prano.
Fredo? Sorry, sir.
See, it's a good thing that I waited for him to say it.
I said it wrong anyways.
I know you did.
You're
That's why-
learning.
That's why I waited.
Why don't we go from that side, going down that way one at a time? Just explain who you are and what you want to do.
Good evening. My name is Eileen Claver. You were close. Okay.
Eileen, I was close.
Yes, you were. You were close.
See that?
Okay.
Close is good.
Veterans, obviously very near and dear to me. I am the daughter of a World War II veteran, and I wear 3 blue stars, one for a son who spent 27 years in the Army, a grandson currently serving in the Navy, and a granddaughter currently serving in the Air Force. Veterans are clearly, I've lived through a deployment, and I've seen what our veterans have to deal with, both before and after, as well as their families, and I want to be able to be in a position to do something to continue to help them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jean Sarnelli. I have spent most of my life with deep respect and admiration for veterans, as my dad was a World War II veteran. Obviously, my husband was a Vietnam veteran, and I had an uncle that was KIA in the U.S. Navy. I have helped veterans the last several years going through the maze of the Veterans Administration claims. After doing the wall with a terrific group, I would like to continue serving the town for veterans.
Okay, thanks.
My name is Dennis Prano. I am a retired Navy, and I also support the veterans groups. I would like to continue the mission of the Wareham Veterans Council and continue the good work that they've done in the past and continue for the future.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Master Sergeant Don King, retired United States Air Force. I have over 40 years of military service. There are a number of issues that I think that I can help on the Veterans Council. And the first thing is, as I reviewed the webpage today, I don't see any mission statement. Secondly, there are a lot of issues, being a member of the, past member of the Air National Guard, that issues that involve the Guard and Reserve that I think that need to be addressed. I also have concerns as far as how our flags are being posted around the town. Prior to Memorial Day, about 2 weeks before, I noticed that the flag right outside this building, it was in despicable shape, and I was very concerned about it. And I found out the maintenance people were responsible for it. And in calling them, they said, well, we're going to change it on Memorial Day. And I says, excuse me. I says, that flag is in shreds. I says, you need to either replace it or take it down. And it was wonderful to see the next day that there was a newer flag up there and that there was also a POW to accomplish it. So I think there's a lot that I can add to the council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We're not going to vote today simply because we only thought we had the number of applicants for the openings, because we had the change. So we will basically, you don't have to come back on the 17th. The board will vote on the 17th, picking 3 out of 4.
Yeah.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you,
coming
guys.
in tonight.
Yes.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for your interest.
Thank you for your
Yeah,
prior
it's
service
nice,
as well.
Yes.
We're going to sign that one.
All right.
All right. What's this? Dan Miller, this is,
We're going to table Americana Cafe, right?
Americana Cafe, just for the public to know, unfortunately did not send out notices to their abutters, so they have to basically reapply, and we have to re-advertise the public hearing as well, so it's probably going to be, I think, could be July 31st before it comes back to us, unfortunately. We've got 4 minutes.
We can get the,
we can do
we
Cape
can do
Verde.
the rest of the permits.
Rich has the answer for us, I think we asked, so why don't we get that out of the way?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The question was concerning the manner of appointing members of the CPA. So, Chapter 44B, Section 5, says that a town may adopt a bylaw which will establish a community preservation committee of no less than 5 and no more than 9 members. So the town did adopt such a bylaw, which is at Division 7, Article 2, and in Chapter 1 of that bylaw, it reads as follows. There is hereby established a Community Preservation Committee consisting of 9 voting members pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 44B. The composition of the committee, the appointment authority, and the term of office for the committee members shall be as follows. 1 member of the Conservation Committee as designated by the Commission for a term of 3 years. 1 member of the Historical Commission as designated by the Commission for a term of 3 years. 1 member of the Planning Board as designated by the Board for a term of 3 years. 1 member of the Recreation Commission as designated by the Commission for an initial term of 1 year and thereafter for a term of 3 years. 1 member of the Housing Authority as designated by the authority for an initial term of 2 years and thereafter for a term of 3 years. 1 member of the Open Space Committee as designated by the committee for an initial term of 1 year and thereafter for a term of 3 years. 3 members to be appointed by the Board of Selectmen. 1 member to be appointed for a term of 1 year and thereafter for a term of 3 years. 2 members to be appointed for a term of 2 years and thereafter for a term of 3 years. So, members of the board, the way the bylaw is written, the Board of Selectmen has appointment authority for 3 members from the general community, and each of the named committees in the bylaw is in effect the appointing authority for the member they propose.
So we don't have to appoint.
Correct.
And basically, that would be on a yearly basis then,
Yes, sir.
rather than a 3-year term, so every year they have
Well,
to do it.
No, it does identify a term
That's 3 years.
of 3 years.
What happens when someone's on a committee and say, a year later is gone?
Then there is a vacancy, and the provisions of Chapter 41, I believe it's Section 10, would kick in. The committee on which the vacancy occurs would have to report the vacancy. The appointing committee would have to make a new appointment, and if it failed to make that appointment, it's my opinion that the joint appointment provisions of Chapter 41 would kick into place, keeping in mind that the person appointed for any of these slotted delegates, if I can call them that, the appointee could only come from the commission. For example, not to pick on the Conservation Commission, there has to be someone from the Conservation Commission. If they didn't designate someone, then it's my opinion that there could be and they didn't act within 30 days, there could be a joint meeting of both boards, and the joint body would then appoint someone, but it would have to be someone on the Conservation Commission.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've asked Mr. Bowen for the background like that, so everybody will understand how it works in the future as well. Actually, there's one correction, too. I believe town meeting changed the makeup, and we removed and we also changed and removed the recreational component, because there is no recreational department anymore.
Thank you for the correction. I was looking at an online copy of the bylaws.
I know, but thank you for the nice, clear description, so there's no confusion anymore going forward. Okay, so we don't have to do Mr. Barrett, that's automatically
We don't
done.
have to start the dog hearings now. We can get to the business. We just can't start before 7:30, so we can get the licenses.
Why don't we just get the other license done, then we'll do the dog hearings.
All right.
First one up that we have will be
Brilliant.
Cape Verdean. Mr. Rodriguez,
All right.
use very quickly.
Good evening, everyone. Mike Roderick, onto Cape Verdean Association.
Nice to see you, Mike. Just so you know, in the future, we've done this so many times, unless there's something you want to promote or something, you don't really have to come here. Make life,
Seeing
it's up to you.
everyone, I don't mind. I don't mind. Any questions, any problems?
No.
No,
We have none.
no, we have nothing at all for you.
I move we approve.
Anything you want to promote, or I'll throw the date out at least anyways, everybody?
August 11th is the festival, that's all.
Okay, go ahead.
Rain date of August 12th. Rain date is August 12th.
Yes,
Okay, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
yes.
Okay, I move we approve the permit.
You've talked to Chief Walsek, everything like
We
that?
haven't talked yet.
Okay,
He was busy, I was busy.
okay.
So,
That's fine.
So it's just,
Well, subject to all our, I'll make it a subject to all our approvals.
We have the basic sign-offs anyway, so
Yeah.
whatever the details are, they'll take care of it.
Whatever the,
no, that's fine. It's-
We haven't had an issue in a long time.
all right,
Go ahead, sorry.
I made the motion.
I need a second.
Subject
Motion
to
by
all-
Patrick, second by Tony. Any questions from the board?
None.
None heard, all in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Abstain? 500. Thank you, it's good to see you again.
have a nice...
Good luck, good weather.
Yes.
You want to do Paul's things
Yeah,
quick?
we'll do Paul's also.
All right, come on, Paul.
Paul's on his way out. No, you don't really need
No,
to.
you're not really needed. All right, I'll do them. I'm going to do them, I'm just going to read them all, we'll do them all at once, okay?
All right.
All right, Paul Rose, 4 Gibbs Ballpark Road, Onset, Mass. This is for the Onset VFW Pavilion. June 29, 2018, from 12 to 6 p.m. This is a nonprofit organization. Let's see, it doesn't say what it is. It must be in the back page.
So it tells you what it's for usually. It tells you some type of event, location.
Charity fundraiser,
Yeah.
okay?
What are they
So that's a
serving?
charity fundraiser.
What are they serving?
That may be
What are they serving?
Are they all beer and wine, or are they all alcohols? Okay.
All
Right.
alcohol, Democratic Party thing.
Next up is same thing, July 21st, 2018, from 6 to 10 p.m. And this one is a license, you gotta read through these things. The license for a dining hall maintenance by the Corporation Educational Institute grant program.
Fundraiser.
All right, so it's a fundraiser again. The next one is July 15, 2018, from 12 to 7 p.m. And this one is a private party, okay? And again, it's all alcoholic. The next one is July 14th, from 12 to 7 p.m. And I'm sure she's getting all this. And this one is for a graduation party. I move we approve them accordingly.
Motion by Patrick, second by Tony. Any questions from the board? I'll just make a simple comment that when they do this, the pavilion has its liquor supply separated from the actual VFW club because you can't cross-mix. They have to separate them out to comply with the ABCC laws, which they already know about, but we'll just make that
Okay,
public
Steve.
as well. I have to continue Mr. Holmes's piece there. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 5-0-0.
Then we got Steve Curry for the one day.
We have Steve Curry for the one day.
All right, so next up is, there's a couple of hearings. I'm gonna,
One more one day.
more, Steve Curry, Redmond. Should do that.
I don't have anything for Redmond.
In here?
We have one buried.
No, not here.
Oh, right here.
Oh, buried. It was buried. All right, Redmond. Here we go. Sunday, August 5th, 2018, from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Redmond Hall, Grove, 758 Main Street, Wareham. And this one is for the annual clam bake. I move we approve it.
Motion by Patrick, second by Tony. Any questions from the board? Just for the public's information, this is a very nice event. It's open to the public if they want to buy tickets. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 5-0-0. Okay,
You ready?
let's open up the dog hearings.
All right.
Cheryl, you're on.
All right, so I move we open up the hearing for Sandra Cross, 198 Great Neck Road, Wareham, in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 140, Section 157 of the Massachusetts General Laws. You're hereby notified that the public hearing will be held before the Board of Selectmen on Tuesday, July 10th, 2018, at roughly 7:30, regarding a dog owned or kept by you. Please find attached a complaint letter. You want me to read the complaint into the record?
Get the hearing open first.
We have to open the hearing first.
Okay.
Roll call, Tony?
Yep.
Roll call. Yes.
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes, sir.
Alan, yes. Okay.
Hearing's now open.
Now I'll read the complaint into the record. All right, so this is a complaint of a vicious disposition. On May 29, 2018, at around 5 p.m., Joshan Washer, 30 Lydia's Island Road, reported that a dog owned or cared for by the resident of 198 Great Neck Road, later identified as Sandra Crossman, attacked another dog unprovoked and inflicted injury. The dog, owned by Christine DeCory, was later treated at Marion Animal Hospital for a couple of puncture wounds to the neck. On May 22nd, 2018, the Wareham Animal Control Officer received a complaint from Angela Didler of aggressive behavior by this same dog, described as a female Australian Shepherd named Daisy. She's got a nice name. When running loose in the area of Lydia Island. I spoke with Sandra Crossman about the complaint and was told the dog was in the process of professional training. Ms. Crossman was made aware of the aggressive complaint and informed that if the dog was to have any future issues, a dog hearing would be requested. This complaint is made under the penalty of perjury by Cheryl. Okay. Cheryl.
Hi, so do we want to call forward the
What?
people involved?
Swear in.
You want to swear, who's going to give testimony in this case? Would you all rise, please? Raise your right hand, and town council will be loved to swear you in.
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you, Davis.
All right, we'll start with you, Cheryl. You're the, sort of the plaintiff in this thing, so.
So the dog in question that's owned by Sandra Crossman, I've actually received various complaints through the last year of the same dog repeatedly being loose. I did have one neighbor who said that when it was loose, it was acting aggressive. Even since I placed this request for this dog hearing, I was told that the same dog has been loose again. So it definitely has shown aggression. It did put 2 puncture wounds into another dog when it was loose the last time. And I am requesting that the dog be deemed dangerous and safety precautions be put in place.
Okay.
Tony, any questions? Mary?
I'd just like to know what kind of precautions are going to be put in place.
No, we got to that. Has the owner of the dog been cited for violation of the leash law?
Each time that the dog has been loose, we did not have thorough documentation that it was in fact her dog, and then it was an accident, it was on her property. So there was question whether or not it was a true violation of being loose. That's the problem that we're running into. So there's a lot of confusion, and we have a lot of neighbors here that would like to testify that this dog has been loose and that it has in fact shown aggression. There's a little bit of confusion as to whether or not it has been loose, and it is aggressive depending on who you speak to. I've not personally seen a situation, so I'm just accounting what I've been told.
So we should have the neighbors that are going to testify for
Right.
the dog officer come down, please. Come down and sit at the seats in the front here and grab a microphone, please. And you have to talk really close to these microphones or we won't be able to hear you, and neither will they on TV land, okay? And why don't we just start from left to right, and you can tell me what you have to say. Tell us what you have to say.
Name, please, address, and then...
Yes, my name is Angela Didier, and I live at 8 Lydia's Island Road. I live catty-corner to their house. I get aggressively barked at every single day, and the dog has been loose 6 times in the last years in a period of 6 months. Actually, in the last 2 weeks, it's been 2 more times. It's been a nonstop, chaotic situation with this dog. The dog is extremely aggressive. 3 of the times the dog busted through the door and came after us with no provocation. All we are doing is walking down the street. I have had a Great Dane and a Sheltie mix, and each time it was coming at us for no reason whatsoever, running from its house down the driveway, which is quite a distance, onto the road. Traffic had to be stopped. The dog's running from the masters, will not do anything the masters say. The last time was the most aggressive time. At that point, it was only 6 months old. At this point, it's a little over a year old, possibly. At a year old, this dog should not be acting like this whatsoever. A dog should not be reacting like this until they're 2 to 2.5 years old.
I would suggest just stick to the facts that you know. It's up to us to draw the conclusions about the nature of the dog. So going forward, just tell us what you personally know, what you've observed with the dog, please. Thank you.
The dog had all of its hair up on its back, had every single tooth in its mouth open, with its mouth going like this at us, charging at us and charging. I put both of my dogs behind me, even though my little 35-pound was like saying, you know, leave me alone, and kept on going forward. So I threw them behind me. I had to stomp my foot down in front of it and scream at it to get it to go away from me. They're running around, chasing it at times in between the traffic stopped on both sides. It's absolutely ridiculous that I have to keep on putting up with this dog. This dog is constantly after my dogs, and they don't do anything about it. Just the other day, I'm walking past there 2 days ago on Sunday, and the dog's constantly running at the fence, jumping up and down. For some reason, it's running away from her, and she's telling it it's a good dog. I don't know what's good about that. In my eyes, the dog does nothing that they say. It runs from them every single time. And when they try to get it, it runs away from them because it's so intent on getting after my dogs that it doesn't care about the masters. It does nothing that they say. They don't know what they're doing with this dog.
Thanks. I think we get the gist of your testimony. Thank you very much.
Next, please.
I'm going to let Jody and Julie talk. They actually witness it, and I'll talk after.
If you could identify yourself, though, first.
It's Christine DeCourcy. I'm the owner of the dog that was bit.
Okay.
And I have pictures.
Okay.
From the vet.
Pull the microphone to you, sir, when you do that, please.
Describe what the bites were.
Do you want me to pass the phone up?
Yeah, you could pass that. We'll take a look at it.
And if you slide, there's others.
Okay.
I did take him to Marion Animal Hospital. They started him, she said there was 2 puncture wounds. She started him on an antibiotic because she said the saliva can cause some serious problems. And I was hesitant to do it at first because I spoke with her and I'm like, I don't know, it's, I could put some Neosporin on it and he'll be fine. But, because even the vet said you need to have him seen and go on antibiotics. I also want to add that my dog is now traumatized. This was a dog that loved to go out, wag his tail. He's a golden retriever. He'll be 4 in October. And it's like, his name is Bruin. It's Bruin, want to go out? And he's like hesitant to go out. I mean, since that, he's been bit. He's scared. And he was a playful puppy.
Question, did the owner of the dog that bit your dog offer to pay any of the vet bills, or
No,
did they ever contact you regarding the bite?
no.
Did you inform them that your dog had been bitten by their dog?
I heard that there was going to be hearing, so I figured it would be settled then.
Okay.
Right for it's in there.
And if you slide, there's also other pictures I kind of
did.
took from angles.
I
And
did.
the veterinarian at Marion Animal Hospital also has it documented.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just ask the animal control officer, was this biting incident brought to the attention of the biting dog's owner?
Yes, it was. They were cited for loose dog, and the dog was placed under quarantine. The issue is they can't handle the dog. They don't just randomly...
Well, that's fine, but I just want to know what their reaction was to the specific incident. Did they tell you that they would pay for the vet bills for the dog that was bitten?
They did not believe that their dog had bitten the dog in question.
Okay. So there was no admission of responsibility for the bite?
They still do not believe that it was their dog that did it.
Okay.
Can I add also?
Did they propose that a second dog had done it? In criminal law, that's called the two-dude defense. You point to the other guy.
They just stand that their dog is not aggressive, that it just wants to play, and there's no way that their dog would have bit that dog, that they're discounting what is being said by the witness.
All right, next.
Joseph Warshower, Lydia's Island Road.
Sir, if I could ask you to really get that mic close to you, these air conditioners kind of drown out in here, so.
We have a miniature Schnauzer, 15 pounds, and I was walking him down the road, and there were a group of people gathered, and we were having a conversation, and the dog in question, which they said it was an Australian Shepherd, I think it's a pit bull. Looks like a pit bull. Black and white.
Unfortunately, just let me interject here. We're not allowed to consider the nature of the breed under state law because we can't act simply because a dog may be of a certain origin or type. I've got a German Shepherd. People are scared of them. I get it, but at the same time, we have to just stick to the... You can talk about the size of the dog, talk about the weight of the dog, but the breed of the dog we can't really get into.
Okay. Well, it was a large dog, black and white, and so the dog was on somebody else's property on Lydia's Island Road, and the conversation turned to this dog and what had happened to Angie, and Bruin came waltzing up, and Bruin's just a big, lovable dope, and he comes walking up, and immediately this dog charged Bruin and started chewing on his neck. And if it had been my 15-pound miniature Schnauzer, I don't know whether it would have survived. Bruin just turned and kind of loped away immediately. the owner of the dog showed up in a vehicle and tried to control the dog, and the dog was just running around barking, and everybody there just scattered and left because they didn't want to get bit by this thing. But it was a very vicious attack, and it was unprovoked. And I'd also like to say that there's a lot of little kids on Lydia's Island Road that are running around there sometimes without parental observers. And I think there's a danger to all those kids and to my dog and any other dog that's in the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dan DeCourcy. Bruin's my dog also. Not only did the dog just tear apart the neck, this girl walks this dog, or was walking the dog all the time through the property of our house. She cannot control this dog. This dog, she would be holding on for dear life with both hands, and this dog would be dragging her. It is really big, really strong, and really aggressive. And my wife and I, we have 9 grandchildren. This dog is going to be one of those dogs that you hear that is going to maul somebody, and you're going to say, we could have done something about it. Now is the time, not later. I mean, this dog is a problem.
Okay.
We love dogs, we all have them. But this dog is like Cujo, and it's going to hurt somebody.
All right, thank you.
Can I add something else in too?
One thing quick. I think we've kind of got the gist of what's going on here.
The times that the dog was loose was crashing through the door, but 3 other of the times was when, as I witnessed right in front of my face, they pulled the husband down to the ground. Another time, they were running around with leashes on them, so pulled one of the other ones down to the ground. And another time was because they were loose, because they cannot keep them under control, even on leash. It's a huge problem.
Okay.
Huge. They cannot control this dog.
Go ahead, ma'am. You tell us your name.
Because I wasn't with my husband when this happened.
Could you tell us your name, please?
I hope, can you hear me now? But I own also the mini Schnauzer, and I walk every day on Lydia's Island Road, and I pass these people's house. And every morning, I'm really terrified, and so is my dog, because usually I hear their dog in the backyard. The fence is not big enough. It's not tall enough to keep the dog in. It's jumping up and down and all around, and I hear the girl in the backyard just screaming at the dog, trying to get it to do something. And I'm like, please don't jump and bite us. But I'm not going to stop walking. I mean, I want to walk my dog. So it's very scary, and it's not a nice way to start your day. So I would like to see something done.
You got a question?
I've got a question for the animal control officer. You've seen this dog?
Yes.
Could you describe roughly how tall it is at the shoulder and what you would guess the weight is?
Medium size, not a large dog, medium size, probably.
50 pounds?
Yeah, it's not like a very large dog.
Okay.
Medium size.
We have the owner of the dog here?
No, yeah, you're all set, thank you. You guys can go sit back down. Is Sandra Crossman here? She's not here.
Is there anybody here to speak on behalf of the dog or the dog owners?
All right,
All right, I move,
with the owner not here.
One second.
move we close the public.
Not yet.
No.
Don't close the hearing because I want to get something else in on the record during the hearing. Do you have proof of service of the notice to the Crosswinds?
Spoke to her personally. She was aware of the situation. She was aware of the dog hearing, and she was
Got the
aware
green
of the
card.
dog.
Got the green card, okay. I want to get that in on the record during the hearing.
She had told me she was going to be here, so I'm not sure what happened. Her intention was to be here.
Well, we can proceed anyway. And one last thing.
Okay, so there is...
Regarding the pictures, we should have those emailed to us.
We've got an issue. The green card isn't signed, and this never went out. This never went out. You see it right there. It's never, the post office would have stamped it. Never got stamped. So officially, she was never really notified.
We were supposed to send this out. Is the town?
Gonna have to renotice the hearing.
Yeah?
Well, how'd you get the green card back if it wasn't signed?
The green card was being put together to put on the thing to send out, but it never got put on. Never got put on the letter.
There's no stamp for you.
You know what I mean? They put it all together.
I know, if there's no red post office
Right,
stamp
then
on
they
it.
bring it down and they stamp it and they stuck to
Right,
the
and
back
then
of the
the
envelope.
postal person attests as to whether they
Correct.
attempted delivery, what the result was, whether they...
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, go ahead, Rich. Sorry.
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Sorry, man.
Madam Officer, when did you, with whom did you speak?
I spoke with actually her daughter, and it was less than the 10-day period.
How old is her daughter?
She's an adult. I'm not sure of her exact age, but it definitely was, I know they have to have 10 days' notice. So,
Less than 10 days.
yes, sir, absolutely.
Renotice.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to close the hearing, come to no conclusion, and then renotice and do this all over again.
Yeah.
Hold on, actually, the hearing, the portion is pretty much over. As a matter of public safety, the animal control officer can't impose restrictions pending a hearing. That's in the bylaw.
I've actually been trying to work with the dog owner. I don't think she ever intentionally allows the dog to run. As everybody has spoken here, she has difficulty controlling.
I would order the dog to be confined on the premises until the hearing can be renoticed, and any violations, I think you should, possibly, I believe, under the general laws, you have authority to seize the dog pending the hearing, as a matter of public safety.
Dog muzzle. Still.
Well, here's the issue. How do you order a dog to be muzzled in the house?
Outside the house.
The dog breaks through doors. I mean, you know,
Yes, it's
so that...
actually breaking through the door is what it's doing. It's not one they're taking it outside. They added a second piece of chicken wire at the top of their stairs, so if it breaks through the door, then it has a second barrier, but I just found out that's not working.
What kind of door is this dog blowing through?
Say, is this a
Rich
screen
has something to
door,
say.
or is this a regular?
It's a screen door.
Well, it doesn't even matter.
No, it's a glass door.
Okay, folks, you can't interject right now because we're just talking about things internally.
Yeah, can we take control of the dog? Rich?
It's difficult, but...
Well,
It is undergoing training at this time, too, that I have verified.
Doesn't matter.
Rich?
These people are incompetent.
here's what I suggest. Number one, renotice the hearing. Don't adjourn this hearing. Continue it and provide the owner with a CD with a copy of these proceedings so that, you know, when you put it back up, the owner's had a proper chance to see what happened. And at the second hearing, next session of the hearing, the persons who testified here tonight will have to return to that hearing because the owner has the right to cross-examine you as to what you said. That's basic due process. And that the testimony of anyone who does not reappear should not be taken into account by the board. So folks, what I'm saying is, if you want your testimony to have weight, I'm sorry, you're going to have to come back because the dog owner, if he or she chooses to appear, has the right to question you about your testimony. And the dog owner, when you listen to this tape, you have an excellent opportunity to prepare because you've actually heard the testimony now, and you will have had some days to think about the questions that you're going to ask and the case that you're going to present. So in terms of due process, I think if anything,
Better due process.
this is better process than the person would have had they been here tonight. Now, people are entitled to due process. They're entitled to be here. They're entitled to have notice of what happened. It's regrettable, but if there is going to be an adverse decision against this dog by the board, it has to be done in accordance with due process. Because, don't talk, because under the law, this could be appealed to court, and the judge would throw it all out, and at best, you would start from scratch. At worst, the judge would say, sorry, you're done on this one.
Yep.
Now, there's the question of what to do in the meantime between now and the next hearing. This is what I suggest. I suggest that the animal control officer order that this dog be confined and tethered. And if the dog owner wishes to appeal that determination by the animal control officer, I will be very happy to accompany the animal control officer to district court to litigate your order.
Okay, so I move that we...
Close the hearing. No, we continue the hearing. Yeah, we continue it.
Public hearing to a date not certain yet.
Yes.
To a date not certain.
Yes.
Second.
That's second, yes.
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
I move that we recommend to the animal control officer that the dog be tethered in place until this board has a chance to achieve a disposition of this matter.
You want to do it that way? As a motion, or?
That's a motion.
Second.
And this is a motion to recommend to the animal control officer to do this.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
500.
Okay.
Basically,
Thank you.
what we're saying, Cheryl, is find a way to protect the neighbors until we get this resolved. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, next case.
And I do want to apologize to the people who came here tonight. I know they didn't get the result they wanted, but people do have rights under the law. They have a right to notice. We don't have proof of the notice. Verbal notice is not good notice under the Massachusetts general laws. Certified mail is the only kind of notice that will stand up in court. So shaking your head doesn't change those facts. That's just the way it is.
Sorry.
And we're sorry for that. And obviously, as a board, we're going to have to check these files more thoroughly ourselves to make sure that all the i's are dotted and the t's are crossed.
Peter, there will be a protective order in place, which we will defend.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing we can do, and that's the one thing we've recommended that the animal control officer actually perform.
I'd like to say one thing. I will be attempting to contact the party as soon as I leave this hearing, inform her of what's happening, give her an immediate verbal order on the dog, and let her know what the situation is. So I won't leave here tonight until I've at least tried to make contact with them in regards to this
You should
matter.
give it to her in writing, too, at some point.
I will absolutely follow up in writing.
Certified.
No, I will make sure I attempt to contact her even before I go home this evening. Absolutely.
And please send your order at certified mail, regular mail as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Sorry. All right. Next, we have a hearing of Barbara Brandt, Roderick Martin of 4 Bayside Ave, Wareham. I move that we open the public hearing in accordance with Chapter 140, Section 157 of the Massachusetts General Laws.
Tony?
Do we have
Yes.
that, is that certified?
It's a roll call.
Yes, and it's signed.
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Yes.
Patrick? Yes.
Okay, so, reading the complaint, vicious disposition. On May 31, 2018, at 5 p.m., Deborah, oh boy. Sir Fortunis? Fortunis, okay, thank you for that help, because I would have never got that one. Reported that Mr. Martin's dog had a leash on, but he was not holding the other end. The dog belonging to Mr. Fortunis was treated for puncture wounds at Chase Animal Hospital. On April 23rd at 13:55 hours, Daniel McCarthy also reported that this same dog, described as a black and tan female Airedale Terrier, while in the custody of Roderick Martin, had attempted to attack her small dog. She claimed that he had a leash on the dog but was not paying attention to the dog. This incident did not result in injury of the dog. During both of these incidents, Mr. Martin reported that neither small dog was leashed at the time of the incident. That's the complaint as read. Go ahead. You're up.
Smile.
I did not witness either one of these incidences, and it's a he said, she said, so they're both here to give you their side of the story.
Okay. All right, so could I have everybody who is going to testify stand up? Let's start that. And oh boy, and raise your hands. Mr. Counsel. All right, thank you. All right, so let's have the plaintiff's side come down to the microphones first, please.
That would be everybody who has an issue with the dog.
Everybody who has an issue with the dog.
And the owner of the dog?
Not the dog owner, people who have issue with the dog, the plaintiffs.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so come down, sit down at the microphones, please. Remember, the microphones have to be within a few inches of your mouth, otherwise they won't hear you. So let's start on the left and go down, and you can tell us your name, where you're from, and so on, and then tell your story.
My name's Danielle McCarthy. I'm from Parkwood Beach, and on April 23rd, I was walking my dog on the beach with my 7-month-old son strapped to my chest. And Mr. Martin was laying in the sand, not on a towel or in a chair, but like laying in the sand with his arms extended like this with a leash in each hand. So I saw him laying there, and I didn't know what was going on. I pulled my dog closer to me on the leash, and then the white dog came charging at my corgi and like started biting it and stuff. He came too, and then the brown and tan, the tan dog came and grabbed my corgi, and I could not do anything because I had my 7-month-old son strapped to my chest. I'm trying to like kick his dog in the butt so I can just get it off my dog. I had to call my fiance in the middle of all this and tell him to come down to the beach to help me. And then my dog slipped out of her collar and went running to her car in the parking lot just for safety. And he sat there yelling at me, telling me that I was wrong and it was all my fault, but he was sleeping. So then I told him that he needed to stay so I can make sure that my dog was okay. And then he told me that it's fine and started walking away. I said, I need to make sure that my dog is all right. And he just kept walking away, so I called the cops. And then I had to chase him from the front beach in Parkwood all the way up Teakwood Street to where Birch Street meets. And I was on the phone with the dispatcher during everything, and he just sat there telling me that I was wrong and everything. But they never once asked if, like, my son was okay or anything, like, but I don't know.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Your name, ma'am?
Hi, my name is Deborah Sfortunas. I live at 22 First Street in Parkwood Beach. I have a small Maltese mix. He's a rescue, so I'm not sure exactly what he is, but he's about 12 pounds, about 10 years old. I walk him twice a day. Everyone in Parkwood sees me walking him all the time. Our evening route usually goes by Mr. Martin's house. In this case, I was coming from the opposite direction, in any event, I got to the top of the block that he lives in the middle of on Bayside Avenue. I saw that he was talking to his next door neighbor with his back turned to where I was, and his 2 dogs and the neighbor's dog were running around playing. All 3 dogs, well, the neighbor's dog is smaller, it's still a puppy. His 2 dogs are at least up to my waist. Mr. Martin's dogs did have a leash attached to them, but they were running around playing and no one was holding on to it. My dog was on a leash, and I hesitated and wondered if I should go down the street that I'd been on or go down Bayside, which is more direct to my home. I made the decision to let my dog off the leash because when there are dogs running around playing, when my dog is on the leash, he's very defensive of me, and he's more apt to bark and you know, like a small dog, a yippy dog. If he's loose, he's more taking care of himself. So I made that choice. Mr. Martins did not see what happened. He never looked in my direction. His 2 dogs charged up the street, and it's a good half a block, 2 houses at least, and tall white dog, which is sort of like a golden doodle or something like that, but short curly hair, jumped over Jake, turned around and grabbed him in his mouth. Jake was just standing there, grabbed him in his mouth and shook him. I panicked. I did everything I could to get my dog away. I ended up punching the dog, his dog, in the chest. At that point, he had run over and he was sitting on the ground trying to get his dog off of mine. As soon as it let go, I picked up my dog and walked away. Never looked back. The neighbor he had been talking to asked if Jake was all right. I said, I don't know, I'm gonna get home, because I live just over the block. It was quite disturbing. I got home, my dog was shaking like a leaf, and so was I. I'm very fortunate there's a veterinarian lives next door to me. She looked at Jake. I had just had him at the emergency hospital for something else a couple weeks ago and spent a lot of money. And I didn't want to have to do that again if I didn't have to, but he had puncture wounds that required stitches. She did examine him. Apparently there's a circumstance, an outcome of a large dog, small dog attack. The small dog can have internal injuries. So she did examine him thoroughly for internal injuries. She stopped the bleeding, gave me something to clean it with, and gave me a prescription for pain meds so that he would be okay for the night. And the next morning I took him to the veterinarian, where he spent all day under sedation, having stitches, antibiotics. I have never once been approached by either Mr. Martins or his wife to ask how my dog was, to pay the vet bill, which is over $200. My dog has been through a lot in his life, and I don't mean to be maudlin, but he was with my husband when he died in the car crash. That was traumatic for him. That was 4 years ago. Now he's not the same dog. He barely wants to go for a walk anymore. He's traumatized. He does walk with me, but it's not with the same verve and life. Anyway, that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Next, ma'am, could you tell us who you are and what you have to say?
Sure. My name is Sherry Patera, and I live at 94 Parkwood Drive. I don't have a dog in this show. We do not own a dog, but we were on the corner of Parkwood and Bird Street one night with some people just chatting, and a woman from our neighborhood who chose to not come here because she doesn't want to create a problem, had her dog, Oliver, on a leash. She was walking him, and Mr. Martin's dog came at him, broke out of his collar or her collar, and grabbed Oliver by the neck and had Oliver restrained. And we all started yelling and shoot him away, and that was it. So when we heard about this hearing tonight, we said, we saw this, so we can now testify.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir?
Yes, my name is William Peliquin. I live at 94 Parkwood Drive also. I witnessed the same thing. The gentleman over there, it's quite obvious that he can't control two dogs at one time. Both of them choker calls. He has them with him tonight. And when the dogs are smart enough to run at him, to loosen the collar, to back out of it, he loses control of the dog, and he doesn't have enough authority or command to the dogs to retrieve them back. I've been around dogs my whole life, and I've seen people that can control dogs on a regular basis. He cannot. And it's quite obvious with his temperament, the owner's temperament, he seems like he doesn't care of who or what that dog goes after. And to me, it's frightening for the children of Parkwood that walk around willy-nilly, because it's summertime, with a gentleman that walks the dog that really doesn't have any consideration for the other people in the neighborhood. And that, to me, is upsetting to me and upsetting to the neighbors behind me, that this person can walk these dogs willy-nilly and not pay attention to other people, or able to have the control of the dogs that he's walking. I don't know what you people feel about children, but I feel that that dog came out and he came after myself or anybody else. What else are we gonna do? Take a shovel to it? How do we control it if he can't?
All right, thank you. Good, you can say one more
I
thing.
just wanted to add one thing. That is the biggest concern from my perspective. I can avoid this man and this family and their dogs. Unfortunately, I would like to be able to walk where I would like to, but I can avoid them. But our biggest concern among those of us, as we've talked about it, is for children. Parkwood Beach, if anybody knows Parkwood Beach, is a wonderful family neighborhood where kids go off on their bikes in the morning and don't come home till lunchtime, and they're at the playground or they're at their friend's house. It's that kind of a neighborhood, and people shouldn't have to worry about their children being attacked.
Right.
Go ahead, ma'am.
I also have 2 stepdaughters, and like if that was them walking the dog and the dog attacked them while they were walking, like what would they have done? Like
Okay. I get all that, but unfortunately, that really doesn't go to the facts, and we have to stay to the facts, okay? So, any board questions? Tony?
I have one question. For any of you, if you can answer. It's been mentioned that he has these dogs on a leash. What kind of leash? Is it one of those flexi leashes where the dog can go out like 20 feet? Is it a 5-foot leather police lead? What kind of...
It's a 12-foot long
Nylon?
nylon or cotton weave.
Yeah, that's what he had.
No.
But it is at least, well, I shouldn't say 12, it's at least 8 feet long.
Okay.
It's longer than any of us are tall.
Okay.
The night that a dog attacked that little dog, he had 2 choker collars on. I know for a fact those are not them. I've seen choker collars before because I had them on my dogs to be able to restrain them. But these dogs here were able to back up, go right to the person, have the chain fall off, and run at will. Those are not the leashes that he had. I know that for a fact.
Okay.
Okay. Any,
Now, he
no
has a
other
right
questions?
to cross-examine the witnesses, so...
Yeah, you do. Sir? Sir, can you stand up? You have the right to ask questions of these individuals.
Can I make a...
One by one. Not a statement.
Not at this
questions.
point in time.
You have
You have the
questions?
right to cross-examine. Actually, you're going to need to pull up a chair and speak into the microphone so people can hear.
Grab a chair over there, pull it on the side, and grab the microphone and pull it up to your mouth. And please, just direct a question, and we'll wait to hear the answer, okay?
So my question to complainant number 1 is, and I have a witness, her name is...
Well, just ask the
Fine.
question.
This is your opportunity to cross-examine them. You'll get a chance to state your case later.
Examine.
Yeah.
So, did your dog have a leash when your dog attacked my dogs?
My dog was on had a collar and a leash, and when she was attacked, she managed to slip out and run to the parking lot. But your dogs were on leashes, but you barely had hold of them, and you were sleeping on the sand.
With respect, what is barely hold? I had my hands...
Okay.
You were not
This is
awake.
just questions, please.
You were not
So,
awake.
your dog was not on leash.
My
and I have a
dog was
witness.
on a leash.
I'm just asking...
Hold it. You cannot banter back and forth. All you can do is answer a question that he asks. It's either yes, no, whatever, okay? And that's it. That's all you can do, okay?
Witness that was...
You cannot argue or say anything.
Okay.
Answer the question, and that's it, okay? All right, sir, go ahead.
To complainant number 2, was your dog on a leash, and were you aware of the fact that the only reason I dropped my leashes was because there was a Staffordshire that was running around the road from our neighbors, and I dropped the leashes because the dogs play together, and I knew that by having those dogs together, we'd be able to catch the neighbor's dog, and that neighbor is actually here.
All right, so that's... sir, hold on.
It's not your case at this point. All you're allowed to do is ask them questions.
Question.
My question to the complainant is, was your dog on a leash?
My dog was on a leash throughout my walk with him until I turned the corner onto Bayside Avenue, and I saw 3 dogs running around playing, not leashed.
Big dog.
And big dogs, and I made the choice, I've owned dogs my whole life, I made the choice to unhook my dog. My dog did not move from my side before it was
But
attacked.
at the time of the fight, your dog was not on a leash.
Thankfully.
Okay, no, that's
That's
okay.
okay.
The answer is yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else, sir?
So my question to the other gentleman who says this is not the this is actually the.
No, that's a statement. The question is,
Are you sure that
I'm
this
100%
is?
sure, without a doubt. Those,
We don't-
the collars that you have there are not the ones you had on that night. Did you have those have?
okay, whoa. The answer is no. Okay, next question, sir. Come on, these are just questions. You're going to get time to say what you want to say.
All right, my okay, I'll defend myself.
Okay.
Okay,
is
so
that it?
you're through with your cross-examination?
Thank you.
Okay, now is the time for you to state whatever defense you think you have.
Okay. The witnesses can be
Yes.
dismissed. Please.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you. All right, sir, now it's your turn. Now you get to present your side of the case. And this is where you get to say those things you wanted to say. Okay?
I'll start with what I think are the easiest ones.
Okay.
We do not possess any other leashes besides these, so it's absolutely impossible the gentleman can say that these were not the leashes. Second of all, what happened was this came unclipped. I have since fixed it. We moved recently to Parkwood. I had not used this. We have been coming to Wildwood in Wareham, Swifts Beach for 8 years. And in Wareham, for 2 years. And in 8 years in Middleborough and at Swifts Beach, we have never ever had a complaint on the dogs. Those dogs sit on the deck. We have an electric fence around our property. We had an electric fence. We still have one around Wildwood, the one in Wildwood. We had it around Middleborough, and we have it around our Bayside home. The dogs wear these all the time. They never are in our property without these electric fence items on. So, and it is unfortunate that the very first time the dog must have hooked it and this came undone. I took it home. I'm an engineer. I fixed it. So that's never happened again. I walk these dogs every single morning. I walk past people running, people walking, and people walking dogs. I never have an issue. No issues whatsoever. And in fact, what I find most disturbing is if I walked around, which I could do with a camera, and took pictures of all the dogs walking around without leashes on, and I am absolutely religious about this. In fact, my wife will beat me with a baseball bat if I don't have a leash on because of the potential issues. We understand those issues. So to say that, the dogs, this wasn't the leashes, sorry, we don't possess another one. It came off, yes, it was most unfortunate. The situation where I dropped the leashes, the complainant number 2's dog was not on a leash, and you've got a big dog, and you've got a small dog, and our dog was I was trying to help the neighbor catch their dog. In instance number 1, the complainant number 1, Mary Assioff was sitting on the park bench next to me. I was lying on the sand, I had the 2 leashes in my hand, and the next minute they flew up because her corgi came and attacked my dogs. Now, these are dogs, these are not human beings, and if a dog comes and attacks my dog, which is on a leash, there's going to be a fight. The only reason I was able to pull the dog back was because the dogs were on a leash. The only reason I was able to catch the dog that was running around in the complainant number 2's case was because the leashes were on the dog. I could grab it and pull it away. I asked, and the witness who was standing with me asked complainant number 2, is your dog all right? And we got the answer, yes, the dog's fine. And then she walked down the road, and apparently, we were a whole lot of. So, I understand and I respect this process. I am responsible. My dogs have been trained. The Airedale went away for 6 weeks of training when she was a puppy. I subscribe to the American Kennel Institute's good test. In fact, I tried to get her to do a test before this, but unfortunately they weren't running a test. I gave it a score. She gets over 90% for every single item, which is walking past other animals, walking past human beings. I walk past runners, I walk past walkers. Many of them will stop and pat the dog. To say that this dog is aggressive just absolutely blows my mind. And you know, I'm being candid. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. You know, I'm really sorry we're all here discussing this, because this doesn't do anybody any good. If I felt that this dog had bitten somebody, I would be the first one to say that is not acceptable. In fact, my wife would say to me, that's not acceptable, we've got to do something about this.
Okay. You want to say something, ma'am, next?
No.
Ma'am? No? Okay, why, three of you else sat down. Do you have something else to say?
My wife, Barbara Brandt.
Are you going to say something, Barbara? Okay.
Yes, thank you. I'm Barbara Brandt, and again, like my husband, we apologize that we have to take up your time like this when you have many more matters of importance to take care of. I will say that, as my husband said, for the last 2 summers, we've been over at Swiss Beach. Both the dogs have been there with us full-time. We arrived in May and went back to Middleborough, where we had been residing, probably in about October. Similar to Parkwood, Swiss Beach is a very, very small community. In fact, the houses are much closer together than where they are on Parkwood. We had many neighbors there, and still do, because we go over there and visit, and they come to our house. Many, many people over there have dogs. Same thing over there. We walked our dogs every single day. In fact, there's a family that lives on the same street that has 4 young children, and they probably range in age from, say, 6 to 10, and they would come with us just about every day. And the dogs were so well behaved, we would let the kids walk with us, the older ones, and hold on to the leashes. Never, ever once. And we did ask Cheryl to go back through the records and ask were there ever any incidences reported, and she said absolutely, there was nothing. She went back through her records as far as she could. We called over to Middleborough, to the town, and the animal control officer over there. They checked in their records. Never once a complaint over there as well. I will tell you that we had a visitor dog, which we often do. We had a visitor dog over the weekend on Sunday. It was a little small Yorkie, which is 4.5 pounds, and the 3 of the dogs played all afternoon between being in the house and in the yard without incident of any kind. And I will attest with my husband that our Airedale, since the time that she went away to training, and as he said, she was gone for 8 weeks. She lived in the 6 weeks. She lived in the trainer's home. She was a professional dog trainer. That was her business. The dog, the older one, Stella, she's 8.5 years old. This has been her collar. This is what the trainer gave her, and this is what she has been wearing ever since. The only other collar that she has is the electric fence collar. So, and as far as the Golden Doodle goes, we have gotten her one as well, just because this was the same as what our trainer had suggested that we use, so we did the same for both of them.
Okay, thank you.
And if I may just make a few more points, and I don't want to belabor the point. The gentleman who said, I'm not in control of that dog, I would love anybody to come and walk with me. These animals are completely in my control. I'm not on a cell phone. I am completely in the moment. My dogs don't even, they walk with a long loose. Now, the reason the one gentleman said that there were 2 leashes on the dog. Well, there's a reason why that. Because of that incident where one of these links came loose, I thought, you know what? If the necklace comes loose, I've got nothing to hold it with. So I put an extra lead on until I knew that this had been fixed.
And
Okay.
I'd like to take a look at those.
Point out
Yeah, I'd like to, can you bring those up, somebody, and just pass them down?
leashes. They're not 8 feet long. They're not 12 feet long. Maybe
Okay.
5, I don't know, if that. But they're always wrapped around our hands.
Just start them down there, please. Okay, you're next.
And I'm going to give you the electric fence.
All right, thank you. All right,
I'm familiar with those.
all right.
My name's Megan Brandt. I've known both dogs since they were puppies. I have 4 dogs. They get along great with them. We have I have plenty of nieces and nephews that go over to my parents' house all the time. Never, ever has any of those.
Oh, sorry.
Never has either dog posed any
Oh,
threat.
your tongue, I
So-
forgot.
And I know for a fact that they don't have a collar like that guy was saying.
All right, thank you.
Add one thing.
Yeah.
We have 9 grandchildren. So certainly if we had any kind of anything at all with a dog that we thought was a threat to anybody, we wouldn't have the dog in our house. Because our grandchildren are around all the time.
From when they were babies.
Yeah.
All right, yes, sir. Name and why you're here, please.
I'm James Campbell.
I live at 2 Bayside Avenue, next to Roddy. I know Deb as well. I see her in the neighborhood. It's unfortunate that we're here. I mean, 2 good people. I feel like it's almost my fault with this situation with my dog getting loose. And my dog did get loose, and my dog often goes to Roddy's yard and plays with his dogs.
6 feet.
Also, I have a 12-year-old daughter who also goes in Roddy's yard and plays with the dogs. And if I ever felt like there was any problem or any sense of danger, I wouldn't let her go over there. And I would keep the dog separated from going over there. Like I said, this is an unfortunate situation. But in the incident with Deb's dog, my dog was loose, and I was able to retrieve my dog because Roddy let the dogs loose.
And by the way, there are a number of little girls that are always around and about on their property.
Okay.
They love coming over and playing with the dog. So, I mean, they would not do that
All right.
if the dog was any form of a...
Okay, thank you. Board questions, Tony?
I'm all set, thank you.
Mary?
I'm all set for right this minute.
Peter?
No, I do want to note for the record, though, that I have, I've examined the leashes. This leash is the one that the older dog has had?
Yes.
There are signs of significant wear on the collar, so this is not a new collar. That doesn't necessarily mean it was on the dog at the time the complaints came about, but it does show that this collar was in use at some point.
And I've opened those prongs because what happened was when the dog pulled away, that little metal, and I'm an engineer,
Right.
so I just wound it open so that it wouldn't happen
Yeah,
again. And it's
exactly,
never
because if they
happened
get too
again.
close together, they'll pop right through.
Same thing on this one.
Can I just submit this to you? This is also some statements from other neighbors in the neighborhood and also over at 6
We can't use that, right?
validity of
Can
the
we-
dogs
can we?
and how
Okay.
they're cared for.
All right, thank you.
We can take them, but we can't give them the same weight as
Yeah,
direct testimony.
Exactly.
That's fine, they couldn't be here this evening, so.
All right, so I have a question. So is there not a bylaw against dogs being on the beach? From April to...
It's irrelevant as to a private beach.
Oh, it's a private beach, that's right.
Parkwood.
All right, I just wanted to check, because everybody keeps saying the dogs are on the beach, and I'm like, huh?
I was lying on the benches
Yeah.
on the parkway, on the
Okay.
parking side of the beach.
All right,
It doesn't matter. You might get in trouble.
And I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, the Parkwood Beach Association may have its own rules, but it's not a violation of the town bylaw for a dog to be out on a private beach.
That's correct. I'm on the board of directors and
Yep.
All right, so are you all set? Thank you, then you can return to your seats, please.
You have the right to offer rebuttal testimony to the extent that you feel that there's anything that was
Right, so if you
brought out from
return
the
to your seats,
defendants.
please. Return to your seats, sir.
Me as well.
Yeah, you,
Yep.
both of you, all of you. If you want to give a rebuttal, you can come up and give a rebuttal.
first I'd like to ask...
Use the microphone, please.
Yes. I'd like to ask if I could look at the leashes.
Sure you
Yeah,
can.
don't see a
Yeah,
problem with
sure.
that.
Absolutely.
Not the paw, the leash.
It's a standard 6-foot nylon lead.
It's a 6-foot.
6 foot. I
Yeah.
know it was trailing at least...
Everything looks bigger out there than it does in here,
Well,
Yeah,
perhaps it was
6
at
foot.
least as long as the dog...
including the
They look
dogs.
pretty worn to me. They look extremely worn, so.
I believe they're the same one. I would like to also add something I had forgotten. Several weeks after this happened, I was walking down Parkwood Drive, and from the drive, I can see Mr. Martin's house as I go by the end of it. Another neighbor, Jim Thibodeau, was coming up the street with 2 dogs, his and his girlfriend's, who are large dogs. And one of his dogs, not both were sitting in the foot of his driveway. One of them walked right through the electric fence and after Mr. Thibodeau's 2 dogs. Mr. Martin came out and had to restrain his dog to pull him off. There was no damage. to
Okay,
the
but
other
that's
dog.
not a rebuttal. Do you have anything that you want to say that he said something that was wrong?
Yes.
What's your rebuttal? That's what I want to know.
The rebuttal is, At the time of both incidents, the one with Danielle and myself, he was not walking his dogs. He went on and on about how wonderful his dogs walk on the leash and how good they are with other people on the leash. They were not leashed. They had leashes on them when they attacked my dog, but he had no control over the dogs. They were running around. And quite honestly, James, I saw your father-in-law there that night. I didn't see you.
I was there. He was there.
Okay, well, I saw that Roddy was talking to your father-in-law.
I was there.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah,
Whoa.
Yeah,
You
one
can't
at a
do that.
time.
You can't be talking to them.
Now you're
The
getting different
rebuttal is all you
testimony
have
in.
to do.
Okay, good.
When you're done with your rebuttal, you can move on.
No.
My rebuttal is that he, what is this? I made a note down. Oh, okay. That he did not have the dogs under his control when they attacked my dog.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
May I answer with a rebuttal?
Actually, no, I need to, this other young lady gets a rebuttal as well for what you said.
Like you said, he had control of his dogs, but I had control of my dog. I pulled my dog closer to me. He was sleeping in the sand, and his witness was also sleeping on a bench because it was a nice, gorgeous day. So the white dog came running towards my corgi and snatched it up, and when he came up, that's when the tan dog came over, and both of the dogs were attacking my dog. My dog had bite marks on her neck, like no puncture wounds, but she actually had marks on the neck. We brought her to the vet.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
He'd like to
He
make a
can have
final
rebuttal.
statement, I
Yeah,
guess.
final statement.
I'd like to make a final statement.
Yeah, come up to the
Come
microphone,
up to the
please.
microphone and talk directly into it, please.
And the date is in the document I've provided. James's wife and daughter were at Parkwood Beach, and complainant number 2 stopped her golf cart, and her dog was not on a leash, jumped off and attacked a black lab who was on a leash.
That's all right. That's not rebutting the incidents that they're alleged that your dog was involved in. So that's not something we can consider.
All right, so thank you.
Thank you anyways.
All right.
I'd like to hear
Okay.
from the animal control officer at this point.
Yeah, I'd like to have Cheryl weigh in on this. This is a tough one, Cheryl.
I'm going to stick to the facts as I know them. So I responded to the first incident at the beach when the gentleman, the dog owner, Mr. Martin, was laying down with his dogs. They were on a leash, but somehow he lost control of the dogs. There was contact between the 3 dogs. I don't know if the small dog was the aggressor because everybody was giving a different statement. There was a 3rd woman who was at the location who said that he had his dogs on leash, Mr. Martin had his dogs on leash, and the other dog was off leash. But this was all he said, she said. I do know that when I responded to the first incident that Mr. Martin's hand was bleeding. So there had been some incident that was involved. I asked him how his hand was injured. He told me that when he was trying to stop the dogs, his dog had bitten him, and I issued a quarantine on his dog.
Right.
I did not respond to the second incident, so everything was after the fact. But I've had 3 people come to me that have reported that they have had a situation with this dog. I've met the dog. The dog did not seem to have any human aggression. It seemed very well behaved, both when I responded the first time, when I talked to him the second time. It didn't show any signs of human aggression. However, I do think with the 3 statements that we've received that there's enough evidence to deem the dog at risk, that we have some potential of a problem here, and I would like to deem the dog at risk, and I would like to put some safety precautions in place because we have 3 documented incidences that did result, at least one with injury to a dog and 1 injury to the owner.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any other questions?
Mary?
No.
Peter?
I just want to make an observation. It's hard to sort through these facts. We're getting very much conflicting testimony. It's hard to sit here and say that any of the parties are neutral because obviously they're not. There is no neutral observer out there who witnessed these incidents who can tell us sort of what happened, whether it favors one side or the other side or it was in the middle, which makes it difficult for us to arrive at conclusions here. The other thing is, since this written testimony was submitted to us, we're all going to have to pour through it since we accepted it, so we're going to have to read it all. So we're going to have to take time doing that before we actually deliberate this.
Well, I've skimmed through it myself, so. All right, so my thing is that this is a very difficult case because there is, you know, the dog officer didn't get to see anything. There was nothing visible on the animals ultimately. And, you know, it makes it really difficult because one side says something, another side says another. And, you know, I tend to believe everybody who tells me something. However, I also know that everybody sees things differently, that we're not all, just by our normal human ways, we happen to see things a little different sometimes. We can look at the same incidents and come up with two different things. So this is very difficult. And there's no pictures to say, well, that dog was severely injured or anything like that. So as far as making this dog an aggressive dog, I can't see that that could be in the cards here. However, there is a thing that we did in the past, in my opinion, that where, and Cheryl was making reference to it, where we make the dog a finding of the possibility, what do you call it exactly? At risk.
Yes.
And that gives a time for the dog with some regulation that they put in place. And after a certain amount of time, was it 2 years?
Yes, sir.
After 2 years, it goes away. So if it's good and everybody's good and everything's taken care of and there's no issues, it just disappears. And in my opinion, that's going to be how I see this case. And so if you're looking for what I have to say, that's what I have to say.
Thank you, Patrick. It's pretty straightforward, simple. We have someone who is a professional. It's who we work with to protect our residents in the town. People are responsible for their pets. You know, leash, no leash, it's your responsibility at the end of the day. And my feeling is, as the chair, that basically we should follow the recommendations of the dog enforcement officer and leave the dog at risk. Take the 2 years, make the restrictions you feel are safe, because at the end of the day, we have to protect everybody. And it's on both sides, because if this dog, for some reason, or either dog bites someone or hurts someone, then those people have a serious issue, and it could be a criminal issue as well. So at the end of the day, there's no win here, unfortunately, but we need to do what's correct for everybody overall. So that's what I would recommend for the board.
Okay.
It's kind of funny. I kind of wish we were under the British system where we could issue a caution, and but we don't have that here. Attorney Bowen's laughing. He knows what I'm talking about. I'd like to hear what your recommendations would be as far as what requirements you would impose
I understand.
under the at-risk designation.
So under the Wareham bylaw for the at-risk, that would be the Division 8, Article 2, Section 15, to deem the dog at risk, we do have certain restrictions already written in place under that category. So I went through those restrictions and I made a slight modification because there was new evidence that was brought to my attention this evening that I wasn't aware of. So the first thing I want to address is he has the fence that is the electric fence, but we have been told that the dogs are able to jump it. And I've had personal experience with dogs jumping electric fences. They are not reliable. I actually had my own dog attacked by a dog who jumped an electric fence, so I don't have a lot of faith in them. So I am looking for a secure enclosure if those dogs are in his yard. I'm not going to be comfortable with the dogs just relying on an electric fence. Number 2, he's shown that he cannot control the dogs on leash. Supposedly every incident, he did have the leash, but he still was unable to control the dog. So whether those leashes are 6 foot, whether those collars are the collars he actually uses, in my opinion, he's shown that we can have a problem even with the dogs under those circumstances. So I would like to see the dogs humanely muzzled when he's walking them. Something comfortable, it doesn't have to be over the top, but I would like to see the dogs muzzled while he's walking them, and I want them only walked by an adult over 18 years of age. I would also like to see them microchipped on some level so that I can positively identify them. If this dog is at risk, I don't want to go there in a year and say, oh, this is a different dog. I want to make sure that we can positively identify the dog at risk, so if we have a situation, we can't be told it's a different dog.
Well, he has 2 dogs, so which dog is at risk,
The one that actually inflicted the injury.
which would be the one we're talking about.
Airedale type dog?
Correct. The first situation, there was no injury that was documented, so other than the owner's hand. It is the Airedale, is the second dog, which I have listed here, Stella. That's who we're talking about.
Okay.
And so Stella would be the only one required to be muzzled because Stella is the only one documented to have injured another animal.
Excuse me, wasn't the
Sorry.
that bit my dog?
I'm sorry.
It's the wrong dog.
What-
It's not the Airedale that bit my dog. It was the white dog. I'll never...
Look, let me see the complaint again.
My dog shaking my dog in his mouth.
Whoa, that's a
Sure,
problem.
we got the right dog.
Yeah, we
Let's
gotta
let's
make
look at the complaint again.
I've listed both in the complaint.
There you have.
I had both dogs attack my dog, and she had the white one.
Okay.
So I did list both dogs in the complaint. I wanted the one muzzled that actually inflicted the injury. So which dog was the one that inflicted the injury?
I don't know the dog's names. It was the one that looks more like a golden doodle. I don't know, it's tall with blonde curly hair.
Muzzle on both.
Not the Airedale.
Stella.
The dog belongs to Mr. Hold on a minute. Attacked a small dog. A mixed
I have
unprovoked
Stella and Bailey
influence.
listed on the complaint.
Yeah, it says, Ms. McCarthy also reported the same dog described as a black and tan Airedale. She came to leash on the dog, but it was, it just says black and tan Airedale. I don't see the white dog on here.
The white dog attacked my dog first, and then the Airedale joined in second.
Yeah, I don't see anything black and white on there. All I see is the Airedale.
Do you folks have access to our statements? They may be more concise than she. Nothing against you, Cheryl. She had to consolidate. I have a printout to put because it's the whole story.
Yeah, she said the large white dog. When I went to speak to him, I thought that we said that it was Stella.
She said the large white dog when you went to speak to her?
Yes.
So it's the white dog we're talking about, not the Airedale. Okay, all right, so at least it's in your paperwork, so that's good.
Correct.
So it's the white,
Well, the first incident just says that a dog being walked by a man. It does not describe with particularity either dog. The incident that Ms. McCarthy also testified to, the second incident, does say that there was the Airedale had attempted to attack her small dog. So
well, but she
I don't know, we're
said
kinda-
but she read in her notes that it was the white dog, so if it's the
Yes.
white dog, then it's the white dog.
well, to the extent that we're going to impose conditions
I'm not
here.
requiring a muzzle on both dogs. I'm only requiring a muzzle on the dog.
On the white dog.
Which is the white one.
Are we sure?
When I went to the location on 531 and I spoke to Mr. Roderick to issue the quarantine, at that time, he gave me the information on the Airedale, Stella.
But that may have been the dog that got him, but that would not be the dog that's necessarily the one we would deem at risk.
Yeah, it's only the one that bit the small dog,
So,
Which she's saying is the white dog.
based upon the,
Bailey. Bailey will, I'm requesting that just Bailey be muzzled, not
I gotta
Stella.
ask.
and Bailey's the
Counsel a
white
question.
dog.
Can we ask counsel a question about that? Rich,
This
what's,
is becoming a little loose.
yeah,
I agree.
you wanna weigh in here?
They just said it's
No.
loose.
No, okay.
No.
No.
Okay.
Now we have information that's,
This makes it much more difficult.
May I ask a question or two?
absolutely.
Chairman, thank you. To Cheryl. Which dog bit the little dog?
That would be Bailey.
And Bailey is what?
It's a golden doodle.
Okay.
Golden Doodle.
Golden Doodle.
And what's the other dog named? Stella.
So only Bailey
No,
would
wait,
be-
wait, please,
sorry.
please. And what's Stella? The Airedale? Did Stella bite anyone?
Believe the owner's hand.
Yes or
that
no?
was-
My my hand was caught on the metal of the chain.
Okay, did you see him,
I saw
see
him
Stella?
bleeding. I saw
Did
the
you see
injury.
Stella bite his hand?
I did not, but I did issue a quarantine to Stella.
That's fine. Did Stella bite anyone else's dog?
Negative.
My dog, both of his dogs attacked my dog on the beach.
Okay.
And as he was, I could not bend over because I had the baby strapped to my chest. He was trying to get both control of his dogs and get off mine. My dog was crying like, and then she slipped out of her collar, went running into the parking lot to a car for coverage.
Okay, so
We don't know who put who in that.
and Bailey attacked your dog?
Yes.
Okay. What's your dog's name? Jane? Jake, okay. So, what we have is Bailey, the golden doodle, attacked Jake, according to the testimony. Stella, the Airedale, attacked Ms. McCarthy's 2 dogs.
No. I had one dog, he has 2 dogs. Which one? Bailey, the white one,
Okay,
came running first and attacked
okay, so his 2 dogs attacked your 1 dog.
Yes.
And what's your dog's name?
Piper.
Hmm?
Piper?
Piper. Okay. So, I'll
We
try
have
again.
cause to find both.
Bailey, the golden doodle, attacked Jake, allegedly. Stella, the Airedale, attacked Piper, and Bailey attacked Piper. Sir, can you offer some statement as to these alleged attacks? At the microphone, please.
So I respectfully say that on both occasions, neither of the dogs were on leashes. I was able... Can I speak?
Okay, there's no back and forth, folks. Just one person at a time.
So we can narrow that down to, at the time of the encounter between the dogs, plural, there was no restraint on the alleged victim dog?
Yes.
Okay,
I
so
was
that,
able to pull both of my dogs back from each of the fights because they had
Please sit
leashes
down.
on.
Sit down, please.
okay, got it. So Piper broke loose,
They will need to come up.
correct?
My dog was not loose. My dog was on a leash, and when I walk by another dog, they always see me walk my dog. I always pull my dog closer when I pass another dog.
So Piper never got loose from his collar?
She slipped out of her collar because she was being pinned down to the ground
Okay.
by his 2 dogs.
So at the time, got it,
There's a corgi.
got it. I know, not one of your bigger dogs, got it. And what's the deal on Jake? On a leash?
Jake had been on a leash when I saw his
At the
dog.
time he was attacked, was Jake on a leash?
Yes, he was. His dogs were not. They had leashes attached, but they...
Excuse me, you-
Ma'am, my question for
You
you,
should ever come up to the microphone.
Jake was off
For his
the
own
leash.
protection.
Okay,
Rich is
Didn't
asking a
help.
question.
all right, I think
Yep.
You said
that's,
Rich.
what you got.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I,
Yes.
Cheryl, can we just muzzle both dogs?
That's what I
mean,
just wanted
this
to
is-
say.
This is gonna go on all night. I mean, whether someone's holding a leash or not, or on a leash or not, this is getting ridiculous.
I
Can we
just
just muzzle
changed it
both
to both
dogs?
dogs.
Thank you.
Do you have additional conditions? You listed 3, secure enclosure, muzzled while off premises with an 18-year-old walker, and microchipping. Are there any other conditions you would seek under the at-risk designation?
4-foot lead.
4-foot lead. Okay.
That's it, Cheryl.
So those are the 4 conditions that you would seek this board to impose along with the at-risk designation?
Yes, sir.
Need a motion from the board.
I'll get it. I'll do it.
So may I ask a question?
Okay.
Whether it's in order or...
No, it's all over, sir. Thank you. Could I have...
No, let him go ahead.
Could I have the list of conditions, please?
He gets to respond to the request for conditions.
Yeah, he stands in the shoes of the defendant.
Okay.
Give him the bench.
These dogs have lived with electric fences for 8 years.
Let me have it.
That,
Thank you.
after these 2 incidents, The dog company was a brand-new fence which was put in 2 weeks after we moved in.
She already said they're not
company
reliable,
came back,
so-
inspected the fence, and set the level, the behavioral level, to its highest level. Our dogs have not run over the electric fence. This is not a $5 fence. This is a $1,000 fence. It's one of the best fences you get.
When we had the company come back out, and there was only one incident when either one of the dogs went across the fence, just one time.
All it takes is
When
one
that
time.
happened, immediately, it was the following day or 2 days later, the fence company came out because I called them. And they came out and they looked at it, they turned it up, and they identified that in their controller system, there was an issue. They fixed it while they were there. But in all the times, we've had an electric fence company for 8 years. This is the first time ever that we've had an issue with any one of their controllers. Their collars are, the batteries are changed monthly. We get them on a regular basis. Both dogs are microchipped.
Dogs get used to it eventually.
Okay.
Do you have a certification that the dogs are microchipped, a vet certification?
I'm sure I can call the vet and get it, I'm sure, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. All right.
You want verification of the fencing that we have? Because I do
All right.
have that as well.
No, thank
Cheryl
you.
already said that wasn't.
No, we're all set, thank you. All right, you can return to your seats. All right, so, has anybody got any more questions?
No.
No? Fine. All right, then I move that we find the dogs to be at risk. Excuse me? Close the hearing, yeah. All right, I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
Before we do that, anybody else have any questions?
No.
No.
I just want to make sure it's on record. No, no, no,
No.
no, no.
I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay,
Roll
Tony?
call. Yes.
roll call. Mary?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Alan, yes.
Okay, now, I'll make a motion that we find the dogs at risk, and that when not under direct control of a person, the dog shall be contained within the building, vehicle, or secured enclosure. That does not count an electric fence. Okay?
I do have one question in the middle of this. These dogs, is a 4-foot fence sufficient,
Or you need 6.
or do you need 6?
They're large dogs, and I don't know if they can jump.
I mean, you know my dog, she would need 6.
Both large dogs.
Well, one's 50 pounds, one's 95. My 95-year-old pound one has severe hip problems, so she can barely walk upstairs, let alone jump.
Not very much.
I don't want to be overly burdensome either, though.
Yeah, I don't...
Leave the electric fence there with a 4-foot, maybe you'll do it. I don't trust electric fences.
I don't either.
I've had bad luck.
I mean, between the electric fence and a 4-foot fence should be more than sufficient.
Well, we can try the 4 with the provision that it doesn't.
I think 4 is sufficient.
So 4 is good enough.
Yeah.
All right. All right, so the fence can be 4 feet, okay? The dogs may only leave the owner's property accompanied by a controlling person of adult age 18 or older. The leash may not be longer than 4 feet in length and a minimal tensile strength of 300 pounds. They must also be muzzled in a comfortable manner, in a comfortable muzzle manner. With consideration given to the recommendations from the animal officer, this is, and the fact that they are already microchipped, this is my motion.
Second.
Any discussion from the board?
No.
Haven't heard?
Nope.
Just a vote.
Call the vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 5-0-0.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, good night. Now, there is a provision there, just so everybody knows, that if the dogs are maintained and handle themselves properly, and you handle things properly, it's a 2-year thing, and
2 years.
it kind of goes away, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
This is just a wonderful deal.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well,
they're all wonderful.
it is what it is.
Just love it.
Yeah. Don't forget your leashes, folks. Even if you're going to Petco tomorrow to get shorter ones.
All right. I know. Any other town business, Alan?
Oh, we got to...
Oh, we got more stuff to go yet.
I haven't got anything else. Any other town business?
No. Actually, Tony, anything?
Oh, you want to... You had any other town business first? Okay, so it's just wrong. All right, we can do that. Discuss and possible vote to hold a special town meeting and rezoning.
Yeah,
We've got,
Mr. Buckland here.
Mr. Buckminster. Mr. Buckland, rather, not Buckminster. I'm thinking of dogs and
Batting
everything.
1,000 on the names tonight.
Yeah, I'm really having a hell of a time with names tonight. I don't know.
you're gonna have to kill the lights if we're gonna do
Is this show and tell?
a show and tell.
I got a couple of slides.
Okay, then we need to kill the lights and turn the show and tell on,
I
and
don't want you to fall asleep, though.
Don't want you to fall asleep either.
if you turn off the lights, we'll fall asleep.
We apologize for keeping you this late.
What are these guys here?
The third license.
Why don't we tell them we're not gonna vote on
Oh,
it?
yeah, before we start, we have another article, which I think people in the back are waiting for, which is the host agreement for the third and final license. Unfortunately, the planner and the town administrator thought they were going to be another week later, so they did not make a final decision to give to us. We haven't received it yet. We'll receive it probably tomorrow, so it'll be on the agenda for the 17th. Just so you know, because I don't want you to sit waiting for something that's not going to happen tonight. Thank you. They're the ones that flagged the license.
We had no idea
They're
who
one
was
of the
who, because we
six.
had so many people here for the damn dog hearing.
You know which one?
No, off the top of my head. no. I have a pretty good idea. But, one's the Bedford fellow with the big
Oh,
road.
yeah, I can imagine.
That's the guy who just left last time.
It just doesn't look like a good group to me.
It's not a good group.
Gee, that looks a lot like the Tremont Nail Factory.
That's before the fire. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Yeah, I know, but you know what? You did it. It was funny. Is there any way to put those owners on leashes?
No, it won't happen that way. It really won't. See, you earned your money tonight. You earned your money tonight. I know.
Ready?
We're not doing two of those in a night again.
I know.
Yeah, no kidding, huh?
Sometimes,
I don't know when
that
to dog.
happens sometimes. Nothing you can
I
do.
think we'll put our teeth away for the rest of the night. Go ahead.
We had a week off last week.
If you didn't ask so many questions, we would have got through it.
We weren't getting an answer. I was getting...
I know. It's very frustrating.
There's been a series of events that have led to the suggestion that we should be looking at a special town meeting. And it all has to do with the Tremont Nail Factory. I wanted to show these images because they're these really cool drone shots that we got from the Regional Planning Agency, Serped, which shows you this is I mean, this could be a movie set.
Makes a good car show set.
So we have the nail factory exists in the Wareham Village 1 zoning district.
It's a pretty picture.
And what we have is a number of individuals who are interested in using the facility. Of course, the context is this is an historic, the reason why it was purchased was because of the historic nature of most of the property. So that has to be one of the criteria that we use to consider. But the kind of uses we have under the vision plan are things like artist studios, retail, crafts retail, some light manufacturing, and other uses that have that we're still discovering as we go along at this point. So I looked at the WV1 zoning district, the district this is in, and what's prohibited is health and athletic facilities, apartments and mixed-use buildings, conference center, hotel,
Light manufacturing is prohibited. As I said, there are several proposals for, that would fit within that. Food and beverage, accessory uses, and marine connected use. And you'll may be aware that there's a kayak launch down at the southern end of the property. And I think that the setbacks are not applicable, and it may be that the residential density is too high, that it allows 1 unit per 2,000 square feet. So we have an issue with trying to get the uses in that we want. Well, there is one particular use that has come up that has potential of supplying us with a $200,000 a year in licensing and rental fees. And they're not allowed within the district.
Keep going.
Yep. Yeah.
So this is an opportunity, I think, where we can start to be responsive to potential user and users and get an industrial district that fits with this historic context and the preservation of the historic nature of the properties and the historic buildings, and gets us some significant revenue by filling in with users and rents that make sense.
Just a question. Right now, it's, as you said, it's in the Wareham Village 1 zoning district. Are you looking to carve this complex out and create a special industrial district strictly for this property?
Spot zoning, you can't do that. You can't spot zone.
It's not spot zoning, it's a district. It's a complex of buildings and
You take a single piece of land out and change the zoning on it from all the other zonings around it. That's spot zoning. Is it not, Rich?
It's only spot zoning if you prohibit uses, not expand them, correct?
I'm so glad I came tonight. As I'm sure you are as well.
Doesn't matter what you call it.
All right. The question of spot zoning is a highly fact-dependent analysis. It's not dispositive that it's one piece of property. It's not dispositive that there may be one owner. They are something to weigh, but as I say, there's a difference between weighing and disposing. If I may ask, because we'll take this under advisement, how many acres?
7.2.
And are you talking about an overlay, floating overlay that could land anywhere in town or within certain districts? Or have you decided exactly?
Haven't decided as yet.
Well, see, there you go.
Yeah, well, if it's an overlay, that's a different story.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my point. An overlay is a different story.
Permission, members of the board, Mr. Chairman, you know, I understand what Mr. Buckland is doing here. He's introducing the concept that to take advantage of this possible economic opportunity, there would have to be, might have to be, a zoning change of some type, the breadth of which is yet to be determined. All you're doing is really rolling out this possibility at the moment.
That's correct.
Right.
Brought it before the board, the planning board, and had a discussion about that on yesterday's meeting. And they were supportive of the idea of moving in that direction.
Got it.
Why would you need a special town meeting? October's just around the corner.
Mr. Chairman, to Selectman Tropiano, I wasn't suggesting that it would have to be a special town meeting.
I mean, October's like right here.
You know, and traditionally, at least, you know, I point to Patrick when I say way back when, but Patrick and I are the same vintage, so I guess I'm pointing at myself, too. You know, it used to be that the fall town meetings were for zoning changes, so the fact that this would be coming up in October would actually be...
Perfect.
Precisely.
as the word goes.
We may not have these folks here in October when that goes.
There's an opportunity.
Is that something you could talk to them about, or, I mean, because, it costs money, obviously, to have a town meeting.
Time is money for all of us.
And we're doing it for, if we're doing it for a specific individual, and that's, could be a little problematic, too. Yeah.
I'm not acquainted with the proposal.
Neither am I, so.
Yeah, so we're all in,
in the same vein.
once again, the old timers are in the same boat
That's
together.
right. We're in the same
So, it's a good boat.
Don't sink
We're in the dock.
Don't sink it.
But something that I've done in other circumstances, other communities, is, if you have a particular person who's coming along with an economic opportunity and they sure can't wait for our regularly scheduled town meeting, you say to them, hey, look, it's going to cost us X amount to hold this town meeting. Are you willing to put up the money regardless of the result? Just saying.
Are we able to do that legally?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's question number one I had. The other piece is that I still... Sorry. We have a historic district, so when you say an overlay and you have the factory, which was never put into the historic district, and you have a historic district all around it, are you allowed to go outside and skip a whole area with an overlay and come back again? I have more questions for you after that. Sorry.
Well, I'll go back to that analogy of being in the boat with Patrick in the dark. I'm seeing this for the first time, so before I'd want to get into that level of detail, I'd want a chance to see exactly what's being proposed and what the impact would be. But I'll answer in the most general sense. If you're dealing with an overlay district, it wouldn't necessarily be an issue that the parts or even all of the surrounding area, the donut, if you will, was an historic district and the whole of the donut was not. Overlay is overlay. It lands where it's going to land.
I'm just trying to bring up things that I know are going to come back at us.
Oh, I have no doubt.
The other piece is, which I really still have not been able to figure out, is we have the Tremont Nail factory had been there up until like 2007 functioning. How did that ever function as an industry if it was never zoned for it, being in the village district?
Predated.
When did it change?
It didn't. It was
did it?
grandfathered.
But if it's grandfathered in, how was it grandfathered out?
Well, Mr.
2 year
Chairman,
lack of use.
there's no, how is it grandfathered in? There has been industrial activity on that site for 300 years.
Correct.
That industrial activity predated the adoption of zoning in town, and I forget what year we came up with zoning.
1951, I think.
Yeah, it was the
51.
50s.
But did we take that piece of property included in the Village One?
Yes, it is in the Village One. It shows on the map.
But so the general rule on grandfathering is that if the activity was occurring and the zoning that came into place was in conflict with the activity that was going on the site, I know you know this is more for our viewers, that activity is protected from the surrounding zoning. So next comes the question of the fact that we acquired this property in 2007. Now...
2004, actually.
Oh, pardon me, 2004.
They stayed in operation for another year.
I was thinking of another property.
Yeah, I'm sure you were. Another community preservation.
Well, quite so. So at a certain point, the nail company went away. So it then becomes a question of fact as to whether any activity occurred on the site sufficient to protect the zoning of the property. Now, I certainly know that there have been tenants down there that have conducted industrial-type activities. Why, I've even seen Mac Finney run the nail-making machine on an historic occasion. These are all factual questions that would have to be looked at to determine whether the pre-existing non-conforming use was abandoned, or whether through even episodic use of the property for industrial activity, it remained perhaps to this day. I don't know, but that's what we would be looking at.
So where we have the steel building, which was leased out and for boat storage, but it was also
Are we doing this while we're in the
some
vote?
repair work done as well, obviously putting boats in and out. And then it's gone to municipal maintenance of putting equipment in there and probably working on the equipment at some time as well.
Yes,
At least
they
take.
are working on the equipment.
Yes, they are. They're taking stuff on and off. So my question is, if we have this opportunity, and do we need to really go to a special town meeting or not? Because we're talking about the steel building piece of the property only.
Again, it's a question of fact.
It's not part of the historic register or anything.
The trigger moment will be
What the use is.
the day that someone walks into our building department and asks for perhaps a building permit, perhaps an occupancy certificate, and at that point, our building commissioner will make a determination as to whether the proposed use of whoever it is that's going to walk in the door is consistent with what it's zoned for right now, whether it's a grandfathered use or whether we lost that grandfathering along the way. He's the one who will make that call.
All activity.
Usually.
David's not going to thank me for that answer, but he'll ask me about it, so we'll talk about it.
My question really ends up being is, do we take the first step and see whether or not it qualifies, or do we go ahead and try and do a special town meeting or a town meeting, depending on how it's financed?
I think part of it is the risk that's associated with taking it on a basis of a decision of the building commissioner.
But that could be done in a few weeks, and you have plenty of time for a warrant article or a special town meeting to go.
The use is not allowed.
Are we sure?
Yes, dead sure, because this guy, and this guy wrote the law.
Well, that's why I'm asking town council. That's why I pay him the big dollars.
Well.
So all I'm trying to say is that, do we have the opportunity not to go through the whole rigmarole, or do we have to do it a particular way? Because that's what's really in front of us. The opportunity is something I think we should look at seriously.
Well, seeing as how I haven't seen the opportunity, it's a bit hard for me to say you can carry out the opportunity on the site.
Right.
That being said, there may be a case to be made that grandfathering exists at the site today. Show me the facts, and I'll give you the answer.
Do we go ahead and do something, put something together the next few days, and come back next week on Tuesday for an answer? I'm
Well, that's
pressing you.
ambitious.
I'm pressing you, I understand that.
If someone can give me a list of all the activities that have occurred on the site since we acquired it, the dates of the activities, the types of activities.
Yeah, the one proposed ain't one of them.
Yeah.
It's a relatively new type of activity.
Yeah.
Well, all right.
A new type of activity?
New for this world.
All right, so let's put it this way. We'll try it a different way. We know that was an industrial site.
Yes.
Is the proposed activity industrial in nature?
It's light manufacturing.
So that's industrial.
Industrial.
Well, so then the question is, did we lose grandfathering or did we not?
That's what I'm trying to
That's
get
the
at.
question.
And the way to answer that question is, give me a list of everything that's gone on there.
Get an answer.
Again, we're back to the same thing.
Oh, I knew we would be.
I mean, we're kind of dancing around the issue here. We might as well hear directly from Director Buckland, because some of us know what this opportunity is. We heard about it 2 weeks ago.
Yes,
So why don't we just get that out there? And I think you'll understand why I'm saying that you're going to have to go amend the zoning bylaw.
this is a marijuana processing facility that they're proposing. It's a Colorado firm that it works internationally, works in Canada and Jamaica, and is in several states in the United States. It's a, I believe, a $93 million company. They're looking to get a foothold in Massachusetts, and this is the location that they had chosen as over Pittsfield as an option for them.
We're one of 2 in the state, and right now they're leaning towards us to make the offer.
And they need assurance that the town is supportive. With that, they would provide a rent of $85,000 a year for the facility, plus a licensing fee of $100,000, and a 5-year term. That means $1 million over 5 years, with the donations that would also come along with the use. So it's enough to help pay for the other improvements to the property.
You know, it does not affect the historical nature of the property because the steel building is not a historical building
That's correct.
at all.
And they were talking about putting about 1.3 million into the improvements to the building, the steel building.
Right, which would also be taxed as personal property
I know that.
by the town.
Well, we do have some issues, though, because, you know...
It's not an allowed use out there.
You can't guarantee him that it's going to pass a town meeting.
Right.
You can't guarantee him that we haven't lost our grandfather. You can't guarantee him that the building inspector will make the decision that you think you're going to make. So there's no guarantees, unfortunately. And if they're looking for a guarantee...
They've got to wait until town meeting.
They're going to have to wait.
Which is why we were talking about bringing it forward to an earlier town meeting. Yes, there are costs associated, but they're not dramatic.
And if they're going to pay for them,
You know,
It could be a gift, not that way.
we
Exactly.
get ribbed on this building enough that there's nothing that can be, you know, things aren't going to happen. We're proposing something that can bring, you know, $84,000 a year to that, plus an extra $100K into this town.
Well, not only this, is that we were looking seriously at putting some kind of housing in there where the steel building was, if you remember. And under the way we're sitting right now, technically, we couldn't even do that. And that's part of the visioning for the property.
Right.
So we're gonna have to fix this no matter what.
You know, what's interesting is the housing, people talked about housing, generating rents to help fix the area. However, those rents would be offset with the construction costs.
Yeah.
This is just pure
It's all plus,
revenue.
with the understanding that it's, you know, an industry that not everybody's in favor of, but
Well-
at the end of the day, you know, we're looking for revenue to, not only to maintain, but to start to increase some of our services. Can't have it all different ways. It's-
The most interesting thing that, you know, every now and again when you meet with somebody and it's the marijuana meeting, there's jokes. And there was some joke about somebody eating an edible outside or something, and their faces turned hard, and they said, if one of our people is out there using or doing it, touching any of this, they'd be fired immediately.
You know, they're very strict what has to happen.
So,
Rich, go ahead.
So, two things. Number one, if you can get me a list of what's gone on there, and I don't care whether it's us sitting around on Thursday talking about it or in whatever format,
We'll do that Thursday.
we can try to figure out whether grandfathering is still in play. And that's, I said right from the beginning, it's a question of fact. It's not a question of how much money they're going to give us. It's a question of fact. The facts are either there or they're not. That's number one. Number two, if I were counsel for this company and I was being asked whether our company should invest a lot of money in revamping this facility and using it as they apparently are proposing, my advice to the company would be go for the special town meeting. And why would that be my advice? Because someone can always appeal the issuance of a permit. And as you know, the process for resolving that appeal can be lengthy.
Yep.
So I'm not their counsel, I'm just telling you what their counsel is going to tell them.
Yep.
As your counsel, I will tell you I am happy to look into the grandfathering issue because I think it's an intriguing question. It really is an interesting question. But also as your counsel, and trying to give you the most fiscally prudent advice, I would want them to pay for a special town meeting.
Yeah.
And get it voted. Because if it passes, there's certitude for everyone. That's my advice.
Go ahead, Ken.
The other factor is that they were trying to start up the business by December of this year.
But we understand that there's a time frame which makes it difficult. That's not the question is how do we get it done correctly and there's no recourse back, et cetera.
I mean, to me, it's pretty clear. We recently passed, at a special Springtown meeting, a bylaw that regulated all manner of marijuana trade, whether it was the retail sale, whether it was the production, the growing of it, and what have you in this town. And we restricted it to 3 areas, 3 zones, if you will. The first was the institutional zone, which is where the medical marijuana place is, and they also got one of the retail licenses. The second was the industrial park, and the third was east of Depot Street along Cranberry Highway. It's imperative to amend that bylaw or add an additional use, and maybe we'll have to amend that one to include this zone and then get more specific about this zone, if that's what we're going to do, because you were looking to also open it up to other opportunities. But nonetheless, it's irrelevant as to whether an industrial use is grandfathered there if you can't do marijuana there. It doesn't matter.
That's one of the things.
So I think just, looking at grandfathering doesn't get you to the finish line. It doesn't even get you off the start line.
Maybe.
There's no maybe about it, Alan. I mean,
Let's make nails again, that's all.
We can
out
always
of marijuana?
Sure. Hemp, marijuana-infused nails,
So what are we doing?
dipped in hemp oil.
So I guess at this point, so it's a special town meeting. It's expanding marijuana into this zone, whatever this zone is, whatever we call this zone, and it's also whatever other opportunities that Director Buckland thinks we should add into that.
Okay. Questions from the board? Tony? Mary?
I don't know, it's,
You can speak, it's fine.
I just think it's just funny to me that Tricky Tremont Nail has like another thing for us. We have to do a special town meeting to bring an industrial zone back to an industrial zone. I think we should really try to have these people pay for that because this is, I'm laughing right now just saying the word, so
Okay.
I guess
Yeah,
that's all.
Yeah, I look, this is a question for town meeting, and I mean, if it has to be a special, then that's fine, but town meeting gets to make this decision.
Right.
And they'll decide whether they want it there, or they don't want it there, or whatever, and it's really their decision.
Yep.
In this particular case. Now that we're kind of seeing the light a little bit on Tremont Nail, that we've, it wasn't going to be $50 million to clean up. Whatever, we got to start thinking about doing something with it.
Right.
And it just keeps languishing and languishing more and more. And was never a big supporter of this, because I was always worried about what it was going to cost to clean up. And since that's over, pretty much, and we're down to the
nitty-gritty,
handleable amount, then, I think we got to move forward with this place and get something in there. I mean, we got to start getting money out of it. We've certainly put enough in it.
I would ask Director Buckland, and by the way, this information, and Mr. Jepson sitting in the audience can confirm, the Redevelopment Authority already heard quite a bit of this information a couple of weeks ago. But why don't you tell us more about the potential for jobs, the types of salaries that would be paid, and so forth?
Yeah, the concept is 40 to 70 jobs. They'd be shift jobs, and the the lowest salary is $63,000 a year.
You know, I know why they do that. Do you want to know? We were going to get a casino here once upon a time, right? And they absorb very high salaries for the kind of jobs. But they do that because they want to make sure that the job is so valuable you won't steal.
That's right.
And that's why they pay the big money.
You don't want to lose the
There's
job.
more than that. There's also the regulations in place that require them to essentially go from seed to product.
Right.
And measure and calculate and photograph
everything.
Every step of the way.
Right.
And that comes under the Massachusetts regulations, which are fairly strict compared to some others.
Right.
This is actually being regulated almost on the level of pharmaceuticals in this state. And that's a clear distinction to make, too, because there are people out there who look to what happened out in the West, starting with Colorado, which was not the worst. Oregon, which was maybe the second worst, but the state of Washington, which was absolutely the worst, they basically were the Wild West when this came in. They had next to no regulation, and product purity wasn't necessarily that great. The science wasn't that great. They didn't limit the number of licenses, so everybody opened up a shop, and then they drove each other out of business in a year. So they created a real mess by not taking their time to adequately regulate it before they opened the industry up. And Massachusetts actually, I think, managed to learn from those mistakes. I know the people who voted for legalization are annoyed that 2 years later and there's still not something open that they can go buy marijuana at a retail place. But the caution, I think, is proven to be very wise.
Still a couple months away. What I'd like to do is, if the board is willing to make a motion that we go ahead with the idea of doing a special town meeting with the provision that basically that the applicant basically, as through a gift, whatever is legal, pays for the cost of the particular special town meeting, and see if we can get this done. It's simple as that. So that's what I'm looking for.
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
Second. Motion by Peter, second by Tony. Any questions from the board?
No.
None heard, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 5-0-0. I will also sit down with Rich and just look at my little idea and see if it's possible as well, but at this point here, we're going to go ahead with what we just proposed.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Sorry to keep you so late.
Better start writing some law.
You're keeping me here late, too, so.
That's okay.
Exactly.
Any other town business not reasonably,
We all get paid for this, remember that?
any other town business?
That's why we get paid the big bucks. No.
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 Okay. Next.
Liaison initiatives. Oh, wait, we forgot the town administrator's report.
Oh, yeah, it's in the bottom there.
You're on, Derek.
Yes,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're on, remember that.
Short and sweet.
Very short.
Some controversy has arisen over the playground rebuild that's going on in Onset. They're doing the Lopes Playground. As part of it, it's now going to have a roughly $250,000 poured-in-place surface in a major flood zone, as opposed to before it was going to be just a basic rebuild, which causes a few issues. I had recommended if you're going to do that, you should have it up by Hammond School in the dry outside of the flood zone, and it's now causing a lot of issues. So they need to figure something out.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it?
That's it.
Wow.
Goes quick.
Liaison reports.
Better not.
Mary? Peter?
I liaised with Stingrays.
Yes, he did. Patrick?
I was at the road commissioners meeting and the school building meeting, and I'm not going to say a word because we've been here long enough.
Yeah.
Well, guess what?
Thank you. You'll survive till the next week then.
That's right. It can wait.
Ditto.
Let me think for a minute. No, I think I'm not going to bother. We'll catch up next week and stuff. I have a meeting on Thursday with the Mass Selectmen's Association on some interesting things happening. If anybody has some spare time, look up Rockland Town Administrator and Board of Selectmen. It's really interesting what's going on. If you think, we've had issues in life, you haven't seen a thing. That's it.
Oh, yeah, that one's fascinating.
Yes, it is.
Okay, consent agenda, we don't have one. That leaves only one thing left to do.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you.
Any a second? All those in favor?
Aye. Good night, Wareham.
Yeah,
Good night, Don.
I hope we entertained everybody.